Chapter 279. Let's start. Clearly, it was useless to use a drop of dragon blood to set up such a huge formation. Yihao continuously poured out nearly 20 drops of dragon blood before the yin-yang life and death formation began to glow with a bright red light. Ding dong! Congratulations to the host for successfully inscribing the enhanced version of the yin-yang life and death formation. Inscribing experience increased by 30 points. Following that, runes began to form on the ground of the ancient ruins. All the magical beasts were basically trapped in the formation. Countless demonic beast phantoms began to appear within the formation. The demonic beasts in the ancient ruins began to roar uneasily and attack the shadow in a frenzy. Attack! With a thought from Yihao, all the demonic beasts started to fight back. Each of the magical beast phantoms had reached the 6th rank. Through the enhancement of the heart of the formation, most of the magical beast phantoms had reached the middle of the 6th rank. For a moment, the two sides were evenly matched. At this moment, the heart of engraving formation suddenly appeared in Yihao's eyes. Following that, the heavenly Yin spirit within the heart of the formation flew towards Yihao's magical beast. All of the demonic beast phantoms paused, and then all of the demonic beast phantoms suddenly became stronger. What's going on? Yihao could clearly feel that this heavenly Yin spirit was helping him. This was because many of the demonic beast phantoms seemed to have a trace of spiritual awareness. Not only did it know how to rigidly attack the magical beast, it even knew how to dodge. Could it be that the heavenly Yin spirit has developed spiritual awareness? Yihao said uncertainly. Although the heavenly Yin spirit was powerful, it had been hiding in the heart of carving formation ever since it was subdued by him. Other than the time when he was drugged, it didn't do anything else. Yihao was confused. He didn't understand why the spirit of heavenly Yin would suddenly react at this time. If he couldn't figure it out, then he wouldn't think about it. No matter what, it was beneficial for him. At first, Yihao wasn't sure if this array formation would be able to deal with all the demonic beasts. But now, with the help of the heavenly Yin spirit, he could easily exterminate this group of demonic beasts. The battle lasted for an entire day. All the demonic beasts were finally dead, but the demonic beast phantoms had become even more powerful, and their spiritual senses had also become stronger. On the other hand, Yihao had broken through 6 levels consecutively and reached the 10th Order Martial Venerable Realm. This was a pleasant surprise for him, and his soul points had finally broken through the 10 million mark, reaching a terrifying figure of 18 million. Yihao did not expect that he would gain so many soul points so quickly after summoning Zhang Fei. Looking at the corpses of the magical beasts scattered all over the mountain, Yihao would not let them go to waste. These were all treasures. The meat of demonic beasts could increase the strength of a martial artist's body. The blood essence could be used to refine pills and carve arrays. The bones of magic beasts could be used to forge weapons, not to mention the magic crystals of magic beasts. Yihao spent half a day, and with the help of Zhang Fei and Wu Song, he finally managed to store all the magical beasts into the space. Sigh, what a pity about these demonic beast phantoms. If only I could take them away. Following that, Yihao was about to break the array. Looking at the thousands of demonic beast phantoms that were left, he muttered regretfully. This was because the remaining demonic beast phantoms were all elites. All of them had reached the peak of the 6th Order. But as long as he broke the array, these phantoms would naturally disappear. Even if he did not break the array, he would not be able to take these demonic beast phantoms away. With a thought, Yihao tore apart the spirit formation. However, the scene before him caused him to be stunned. What's going on? Yihao rubbed his eyes in disbelief. But the thousands of demonic beast phantoms were still standing in their original positions, quietly looking at him. Could it be the heavenly Yin spirits doing? Yihao was sure that he could make these demonic beast phantoms disappear with a thought. At the same time, these demonic beast phantoms would listen to his commands. But I can't bring these demonic beast phantoms with me. Yihao was very happy that these demonic beast phantoms could be preserved. But then, he started to feel troubled. These demonic beast phantoms seemed to know what Yihao was thinking. Suddenly, they all disappeared. With a thought, Yihao made these demonic beast phantoms appear again. Could it be that these demonic beast phantoms have all entered my body? Yihao guessed. With that, Yihao made a few more attempts. He realized that these demonic beast phantoms had all entered the heart of the array. Master, these seem to be the heavenly Een battle beasts. The weapon spirits said in shock. The heavenly Een battle beasts were equivalent to the heavenly Een spirit soldiers. The heavenly Een battle beasts were created by the heavenly Een spirit through slaughter. The strength of the heavenly Een battle beasts was that they could increase their cultivation through continuous slaughter. When the heavenly Een battle beasts grew to a certain level, they could even kill a deity. Yihao was also very curious. How could he create the heavenly Een battle beasts by accident? But then, Yihao thought that if he could create heavenly Een battle beasts in batches, they would undoubtedly be a huge source of soldiers. Moreover, these heavenly Een battle beasts had their own level-up system. They could level up by killing. With that, Yihao quickly set up a small Een-Yang life and death array. Demonic beast phantoms appeared in the array. However, the heavenly Een spirit did not react, and the demonic beast phantoms did not change either. With that, Yihao removed the array, and the demonic beast phantoms disappeared. What's going on? Could it be that the array is not big enough? Yihao guessed. Forget it. Let's find the origin fragment first. Although 7 days had passed, Yihao was still a little worried. However, Yihao was starting to worry about the whereabouts of the origin fragment. Yihao climbed all the way to the top of the mountain, but he still did not find any trace of the origin fragment. System, didn't you say that there was an origin fragment here? But there isn't one here. Yihao searched for a long time, but could not find anything. He could only ask the system for help. As long as you take out the current origin fragment, you'll be able to draw out this origin fragment. However, a treasure like the origin fragment will definitely be guarded by a powerful creature. You have to be careful. Although the system's voice was cold, it still gave a kind reminder. There's a guardian? This made Yihao a little worried. Forget it. As a precaution, please help me raise Zhang Fei's level to Martial Emperor. Yihao instructed the system. Ding dong. Do you want to use 5 million soul points to raise Zhang Fei's level to peak Martial Emperor? Yes. Following that, countless soul points erupted from Yihao's body. In a situation where only Yihao could see, all the soul points instantly entered Zhang Fei's body. Raise Wusong's level to Martial Emperor as well. Yihao saw that there were still 13 million soul points left and continued speaking to the system. This was because Yihao felt that an expert who could guard an origin fragment would not be so simple. Yihao was afraid that Zhang Fei, who was a Martial Emperor, would not be enough. He could only let Wusong break through to peak Martial Emperor as well. Out of the 18 million soul points, only 4 million soul points were left. He could not even summon an Emperor Wu anymore. Thank you, my lord. Zhang Fei and Wusong could feel that their cultivation had instantly increased. They could not help but hurriedly thank him. Are the two of you ready? Yihao looked at the two of them and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 280. Yihao anxiously took out the origin fragment. However, nothing happened even after a long time. Yihao waited for a while longer. He even started to suspect that the system had made a mistake. There was no origin fragment here at all. Master, look at that. What is that? Suddenly, Zhang Fei pointed his snake spear at a rock. The three of them immediately flew over. At that moment, the rock suddenly shot up into the sky, trying to escape. Try to run? Zhang Fei had already locked onto it. He hit the rock with his spear, and the rock instantly fell to the ground. However, the strange thing was that there was no sound of a rock falling to the ground. Yihao reached out to pick it up, wanting to see what kind of strange thing it was. Master, be careful, Zhang Fei and Wusong quickly advised. They were not sure if this rock was dangerous or not. Master, this looks like a demonic beast. While the three of them were not paying attention, the rock tried to escape again. However, Zhang Fei moved the snake spear in his hand, and the rock immediately lay on the ground, motionless. Demonic beast? Yihao immediately tried using the beast taming skill. This was his earliest profession. However, he had never used it before. Even when he contracted a giant dragon, He used a blood contract. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for contracting successfully. Obtained devouring beast. Current level, 0. Yihao was just trying it out of curiosity. However, he did not expect it to succeed. This strange rock was actually a demonic beast. However, when he heard the system notification, Yihao could not help but twitch his mouth. A demonic beast at level 0? This was too trashy. Was this still a demonic beast? It was more like an ordinary little animal. Then, Yihao saw the devouring beast introduction and was deeply shocked. Devouring beast, current level, 0, can grow indefinitely. Introduction. The devouring beast can disguise itself. As long as it can devour the corpse of a demonic beast, it can grow indefinitely. With just a few simple sentences, Yihao was completely shocked. How was this trash? This was a super mythical beast. Could this be the powerful creature guarding the origin fragment? Yihao suddenly thought of a possibility. Do you have this? In order to prove his conjecture, Yihao held the origin source fragment in his hand and asked the devouring beast. Suddenly, 2 eyes appeared on the devourer's body. It looked at Yihao in confusion. Could it be that this fellow isn't? Did I guess wrong? Yihao thought he had guessed wrong. A crack suddenly appeared in the middle of the devouring beast's rock. An ray of light came out from within. Yihao went closer to take a look and saw that it was an origin fragment. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for finding the origin fragment. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 200 million experience points. The experience points will be temporarily stored for the host. The host can level up at any time. Yihao did not know if he should take it, because this origin fragment seemed to be the heart of the devouring beast. Yihao wasn't sure if the devourer would die if he wanted to take it. Forget it. Just leave it here for now. Yihao thought for a while and decided not to take the risk. After all, he had already obtained the experience points. Moreover, the origin fragment was in the devourer's body. Moreover, Yihao could not bear to let the devourer die just like that. However, he had to admit that he was lucky. Previously, when he set up the formation, he had already killed all the demonic beasts before the devourer could be summoned. At this time, the devourer should have come out and devoured all the demonic beasts' corpses to become the final boss. However, the devourer was only at level 0. It could not enter the formation at all. Otherwise, it would be killed instantly. However, at this time, Yihao kept all the demonic beast corpses. Without a doubt, he had cut off the devourer's escape route. Just like that, the devourer that could have become a super boss was taken in by Yihao as a pet before it could even grow. All right, you guys don't have to worry. There is no danger now. Yihao said to the 2 of them. My lord, the danger you mentioned just now. Don't tell me it's the devourer. I can kill it with a single finger. Zhang Fei clearly looked down on the devourer. This was because the devourer did not have any martial arts fluctuations. It could not even be compared to a normal demonic beast. Watch carefully. Yihao did not refute Zhang Fei. Instead, he took out a demonic beast from the space and threw it in front of the devourer. The devourer immediately crawled to the demonic beast's corpse and bit into it. Ha, this is 2. He is not even as big as the demonic beast, and he wants to devour it. Seeing the devourer, Zhang Fei could not help but laugh. The devourer could clearly feel that Zhang Fei was laughing at him. He could not help but roll his eyes at Zhang Fei. You little guy, you are so useless. How dare you roll your eyes at me? If you are not my lord demonic beast, I would have killed you. Seeing the devourer roll its eyes at him, Zhang Fei could not help but feel that his beard was about to explode. The devourer obviously knew that he could not devour the demonic beast like this. Following that, his body trembled a few times. Suddenly, his body size increased by several times. If the devourer was only the size of a fist at the beginning, it had now increased to 3 meters in size. The devourer swallowed the demonic beast's corpse in one gulp. Boom! Following that, the devourer did not even need to digest the corpse. Its aura immediately became that of a rank 5 demonic beast. Zhang Fei was so shocked that he could not speak. What a strange demonic beast. Wusong was also very shocked. Seeing Zhang Fei's shock, the devourer could not help but let out a proud snort, as if he was celebrating his victory. What is there to be proud of? I can still crush you to death with a finger. Although Zhang Fei was shocked, he could not let this little guy look down on him. He could not help but be stubborn. Following that, the devourer jumped to Yi Hao's side and kept rubbing against Yi Hao's trousers. Go and eat. Yi Hao immediately threw out 10 demonic beasts. Both of you quickly recover. When we get out, we will have a big battle. Yi Hao said to the two of them while feeding the devourer. The dragon prison lake on him was already coveted by those martial emperors. Now that he was the only one entering the ancient ruins, those martial emperors would definitely not let him go. However, now that he had 2 martial emperors to back him up, he felt a little more confident. But there were dozens of martial emperors outside. He did not know if Zhang Fei and Wu Song could handle them. Yi Hao suddenly looked at the ancient ruins in front of him and immediately came up with a plan. Can you control this ancient ruins? Yi Hao asked the devourer. This ancient ruins was a small world created by the origin fragment. The fog outside the ancient ruins should be the power of this world's law. Therefore, even the experts did not dare to barge in. However, Yi Hao knew that these experts would definitely covet the ancient ruins. Chapter 281. Yes. The devourer beast told Yi Hao through mental strength. Come on, devour. Since Yi Hao knew that the devourer beast could control the opening of the ancient ruins, Yi Hao was relieved. The next step was to make preparations. At the same time, he wanted to see if the devourer beast could reach the level of Grand Emperor. If it could, it would undoubtedly be a great help to him. Yi Hao released the white dragon, giant elephant, thunderbird, leopard, and giant dragon. Because they were all magical beasts, as long as they could devour the essence blood and magic crystals of magical beasts, they could break through. As soon as all the pets were released, they pounced on the magical beast corpses. All right, when will this azure dragon egg hatch? Yi Hao took out the azure dragon egg that he had received as a reward for subduing the dragon. Unfortunately, when he wanted to hatch it, the system told him that his level was not enough. In a fit of anger, Yi Hao threw the azure dragon egg into the corner of the system space. When Yi Hao took out the azure dragon egg, everyone, including the giant dragon, looked at the azure dragon egg in fear and did not dare to approach it. Little dragon, as a member of the dragon clan, why are you afraid of this azure dragon egg? Yi Hao looked at the giant dragon and asked in confusion, Master, this egg is also from the dragon clan? The giant dragon asked in shock. It turned out that the dragon clan was also very powerful. They also had their own planet where there were various species of dragon clan. Black dragons like them were only at the bottom of the dragon clan. For some unknown reason, a few black dragons were summoned to the Myriad Kingdom continent and began to reproduce. Black dragons were at the bottom of the dragon clan, but when they arrived at the Myriad Kingdom continent, they instantly rose from the ground. They became the noblest race. These were the inherited memories in the giant dragon's mind. The giant dragon said slowly, If this egg is a dragon egg, then it must be a noble. The dragon clan's strict hierarchy made him fear the azure dragon egg from the bottom of his heart. The azure dragon is worthy of being a divine beast. Yi Hao took out a purple-red ring jade token and found that he still could not contract it. It still reminded him that his level was not enough. Yi Hao could only helplessly put the azure dragon egg back. But when the dragon saw Yi Hao put away the azure dragon egg, it could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. This kind of suppression was innate, and it could not even resist. All right, I still have 200 million EXP. Help me level up? Yi Hao could not help but sigh. His good luck seemed to have run out. There was a total of 10 billion EXP, and he could get 2 billion EXP each time. Even if he didn't get 2 billion EXP, he could still get 1 billion EXP. If he didn't get 1 billion EXP, he could get 500 million EXP. Who would have thought that the system would only give him 200 million experience? Upgrade, Yi Hao said to the system. Ding dong, congratulations to host for spending 10 million experience points. Current level, level 11 Martial Saint. Continue. Ding dong, congratulations to host for consuming 100 million experience points. Host is now Emperor Wu level 1. Damn, so many. Every time he broke through to level 11, he would need a huge amount of experience. However, Yihao did not expect that he would need 100 million experience. Fortunately, he had found an origin fragment. Otherwise, he would have to kill a lot of demonic beasts to break through to Emperor Wu's level. Continue. Ding dong. Congratulations to host for consuming 20 million experience points. Current level, Emperor Wu level 2. Ding dong. Congratulations to host for consuming 30 million experience points. Current level, Emperor Wu level 3. With 40 million experience points left, Yihao estimated that he could break through to Emperor Wu level 4. However, he was not in a hurry to break through. This was because every time he broke through, no matter how serious his injuries were, they would immediately heal. If he had enough experience points last time, he would not have to spend 1 million soul points to heal his injuries. Now that he had reached Emperor Wu's level, he could kill enemies 1 level higher than him. In other words, he was now a level 3 Emperor Wu, but he could deal with level 1 martial emperors. Boom, boom, boom. In the ancient ruins, there was a scene of breakthroughs. Yihao's pets were constantly devouring demonic beasts and breaking through. However, the fastest to break through was the devourer beast. When others devoured, they had to digest the energy. However, the devourer beast did not need to digest at all. As long as it devoured enough demonic beasts, it could break through immediately. Yihao realized that there was a message in his voice transmission talisman. Yihao immediately took it out. Master, I have taken Shun once and away. At the same time, I have given the other voice transmission talisman to Guan Yu. My cultivation has just recovered. I still need some time to prepare before I go look for those 2 beasts. This message was naturally from Chun Ziqiao. Chun Ziqiao found a cave to heal his injuries. According to the map that Yihao gave him, he first went to look for Shun Wansan. This was because he could not wait to sell Erguo 2. This was a treasure that could earn him martial Dao crystals. After that, he found Guan Yu. At the same time, he passed the voice transmission talisman and a batch of resources to Guan Yu. I understand. Yihao replied simply. Yihao then picked up Guan Yu's voice transmission talisman. Guan Yu, how is my Yin Long's development? After a while, the voice transmission talisman replied, General Guan Yu greets the master. Now, all the generals are following the master's orders and are rapidly attacking the level 9 and level 10 regions. Now, they have already taken down 372 cities. As for the Fiend Demon Spirit Kingdom, they sent an envoy over. Prime Minister Li used the excuse that the master is in seclusion to brush them off. Also, recently, the Great Sun Imperial Dynasty has risen. It seems that they're going to attack the Fire Empire. This might affect us. Now, our citizens have reached 100 million. However, there are 20 million soldiers. They are led by generals alone. In order to cater to the master's low-profile development, these are all carried out secretly. However, it is more difficult to continue developing. General Zilong and the other generals have already broken through to the Martial King realm. The lowest is Wuho realm. As for Yanhuang City, it is led by General Dian Wei. It is a level 8 force and has more than 30 cities. General Dian Wei has also cultivated to the martial, honorable realm. Yihao nodded as he listened. They were indeed the heroes of history. In just a few months, they had been fighting day and night. It was not easy for them to not fall behind in their cultivation. Therefore, Yihao wanted to reward these generals. System, help me raise Su De, Yu Fei, Ran Min, and Zhao Zilong to the martial spirit realm. Ding dong, do you want to spend one? 96 million soul points, yes. Ding dong, upgrade successful. Xiao Dun, Cheng Yaojin, Ding Feng, Zhang Bao, all of them to the martial king realm. Ding dong, do you want to spend one? 5 million soul points, yes. Ding dong, upgrade successful. In a level 8 region, as long as one was at the Wu Ho realm, it was enough to survive. Now that they were all at the martial king realm, it was a considerable help to the generals. Actually, you had to not know that although Guan Yu said it was not easy for the generals to lead their troops in a battle. Fire Dragon Empire, Zhao Zilong Army. Half an hour ago, everyone was still frowning. Chapter 282. No, I have just returned from Yanhuang City. My battle results have already fallen behind the other major armies. Over the past few months, Zhao Zilong had a more experienced look on his face. He immediately rejected the idea. He had started out in Yanhuang City and then returned to the Fire Dragon Empire after receiving a decree leading 100,000 men. Marching southwest, he had already conquered more than 20 cities in just a few months. Everything had been going smoothly, and his men had increased to nearly 1 million. This time, he had already given a military order to conquer Pil Sun City in 3 days. Indeed, on the first day of the 3 generals of Pil Sun City, 2 died and 1 surrendered. At this time, the reinforcements had also arrived, and Zhao Zilong retreated to rest. But who knew that a group of people from Pil Sun City had appeared out of nowhere? A few of them were at the martial spirit level. In just 2 days, his side had already lost 4 or 5 generals. Until now, no one dared to accept the challenge, and it was a stalemate. Now that the 3-day deadline was up, Zhao Zilong was a little anxious. If he was delayed in this small Pil Sun City, it would affect the rest of his journey. Let me go meet him. Zhao Zilong slammed the table and stood up. Even if he died in battle, he could not lose face. General, you can't. Lu Fang hurriedly stopped him. Although Zhao Zilong was valiant, along the way, Zhao Zilong had taken down a few of those stronger than Zhao Zilong. But those were just a few minor levels apart. But this time was different. The difference between the two was too great. If Zhao Zilong went out now, he would only be sending himself to death. I've already made a military order, and the time limit is almost up. If I miss the military order, I won't be able to escape death. You guys retreat first, and I'll hold the line for you. Zhao Zilong ignored Lu Fang's advice and put on his helmet. General, Lu Fang's eyes were wet, and he wanted to dissuade him. This is a military order. Zhao Zilong's tone was firm, and he said sternly, yes. Lu Fang's heart was filled with sorrow. He knew that Zhao Zilong would definitely die this time. Lu Fang knelt on the ground, letting his tears fall. At the same time, he kowtowed heavily. General, please retract your order. Zhao Zilong opened the tent flap and saw hundreds of generals standing outside. They were all kneeling on the ground and begging for orders. I have made up my mind. Zhao Zilong looked at his subordinates, who had been fighting with him for months. He was very pleased, but his voice was still cold. General, most of these generals were personally promoted by Zhao Zilong, so they already had feelings for Zhao Zilong. A mournful atmosphere gathered in the sky. Bring me my wine, Zhao Zilong shouted at his adjutant. Soon, the adjutant brought 2 bottles of erguo. Zhao Zilong looked at the generals and said, this wine was bestowed by the Lord. I haven't had the heart to drink it yet. Today, I will drink it with all of you. Bring me some water, Zhao Zilong continued. A few soldiers immediately brought over 2 large vats of water. Zhao Zilong opened the vats and poured a bottle into each vat. Come, 1 bowl each. Don't drink too much. Zhao Zilong saw that the atmosphere was too solemn, so he couldn't help but joke. But no one could laugh. Still, they took the bowls from the soldiers and scooped a bowl for each of them. Come, cheers. Zhao Zilong raised his bowl and said, cheers. The generals shouted in unison, but there was a hint of sadness in their voices. Does it taste good? Zhao Zilong threw the bowl to the soldiers and asked the generals. It's good. Thank you for the wine, General. The generals shouted in unison. Ha ha! When I come back alive, I will definitely ask the Lord to reward you with pure wine. I will let you drink to your heart's content. Whoosh! Zhao Zilong finished speaking and whistled. A horse immediately galloped over. Zhao Zilong jumped on the horse and rushed towards Danyang City. Retreat. Lu Fang understood that he couldn't let down Zhao Zilong's good intentions. He withdrew his reluctant gaze and ordered the other generals. My king, the enemy has retreated. In Danyang City, A spy immediately ran to the palace and reported. What? The king of Danyang country was only a peak martial artist in Wuho. Danyang was a wild country, but it was just a city. It was just that they were lucky enough to get the Imperial Jade Seal. Go and get the generals. We can't let them get away so easily, the king of Danyang country quickly said. No need. I'm here. Wang Guanxiong walked into the palace with a group of followers. He did not take the king of Danyang country seriously at all. The king of Danyang country was not surprised. He was used to it. After all, Wang Guanxiong was a powerful martial artist. His country was almost destroyed, and it was all thanks to Wang Guanxiong. General, the enemy is retreating. Please bring some men to stop them, the king of Danyang country said anxiously. Big brother, this is an opportunity. This army is made up of close to 1 million soldiers. If we can kill the generals, we can take these soldiers under our command. Wang Guanxiong's followers whispered beside him. Wang Guanxiong and his brothers had been bandits in the mountains, but their village had been destroyed. So they had no choice but to escape to this low-level forest to hide. They had only wanted to hide in Danyang City and did not want to get involved in this matter. However, the king of Danyang country had tempted them with money and sex. Although martial arts were the most important, it was not impossible to live comfortably for a few days. So they helped the king of Danyang country kill the generals under Zhao Zilong. My king, please wait for a moment. I'll go and take the heads of the enemy generals. Wang Guanxiong did not show any respect to the king of Danyang country as he walked out of the palace. My king, these people will be a disaster if we leave them alive, an official of Danyang City said after Wang Guanxiong and the others had left. Do you think I don't know? The king of Danyang country's eyes flashed coldly as he took out a bottle of ammunition. Instruct the imperial chef to prepare a celebratory banquet for the generals. Yes, the official immediately understood when he saw the bottle of elixir. If I didn't need you, do you think I would be so respectful to you? The king of Danyang country snorted coldly. Who are you, kid? Wang Guanxiong asked sternly as he walked out of the city with tens of thousands of soldiers. He saw the general in white robes blocking the city gate. I am Zhao Zilong. Zhao Zilong said, Big brother, this is the general of the enemy army, Wang Guanxiong's subordinate said as he hurried to Wang Guanxiong's side. Oh, it is General Zhao. I wonder if you will be willing to serve under me. Wang Guanxiong narrowed his eyes as he looked at Zhao Zilong. When he saw that Zhao Zilong was also a talent, he couldn't help but smile. That depends on whether you have the ability or not. Zhao Zilong's brows twitched. However, his goal was to delay Wang Guanxiong and give the army a chance to retreat. I won't bully you. Old 7, you go. Wang Guanxiong saw that there was hope in subduing Zhao Zilong, so he said to one of his second-order martial king subordinates. Chapter 283. Big brother, this kid dares to stop us alone. His courage is commendable. This kid is so young. It's not easy for him to reach the martial king realm in this place. Wang Guanxiong's underlings were sizing up Zhao Zilong as they discussed. I like this kid's talent. It's a pity to kill him. But if I can't use him, I can only bear the pain and cut my wrist, Wang Guanxiong said as he nodded. By then, Zhao Zilong and Old 7 had already exchanged dozens of blows. You're nothing special. My big brother thinks so highly of you. Old 7 and Zhao Zilong were equal in strength. Old 7 could sense that Zhao Zilong was not as good as him and could not help but mock him. Idiot, Zhao Zilong thought to himself. Although he and Old 7 were at the same level, he could kill Old 7 in an instant if he used all his strength. But what he needed to do now was to stall for time. Hence, Zhao Zilong pretended to be weak. Too weak, Zhao Zilong despised Old 7 in his heart. He really wanted to kill Old 7 with his spear. But in order to stall for time, he had to keep showing his flaws. Kid, you can't take it anymore. If you can't take it, just surrender. Old 7 was very proud of himself when he saw Zhao Zilong's flaws. He thought that he was too strong and kept mocking him. Old 7's martial arts skills have improved. Wang Guanxiong's underlings laughed when they saw Zhao Zilong being beaten back. Only Wang Guanxiong looked unhappy. He said coldly, "Don't you know how strong old Seven is?" "This, big brother, are you saying that the kid is deliberately going easy on him?" Hearing Wang Guanxiong's words, the underlings' faces changed, and they asked in shock, "Didn't you see that no matter how big of a flaw he showed, old Seven could not hit him?" Wang Guanxiong said in a low voice. Wang Guanxiong's underlings were furious. They thought that they were being played. "Big brother, let me kill that kid." "Okay." Although Wang Guanxiong was reluctant, he knew that it would be very difficult to subdue Zhao Zilong. "I've played enough. You can go now." Zhao Zilong had been paying attention to Wang Guanxiong's movements. When he noticed one of Wang Guanxiong's subordinates coming over, Zhao Zilong knew that he couldn't continue acting anymore. He couldn't help but chuckle. Old Seven was stunned. He did not understand what Zhao Zilong meant. "What?" Before he could finish his sentence, Zhao Zilong had already pierced his throat with his gun. "Die, brat." Third brother was already at the early stage of martial spirit. He could already fly in the air. He quickly flew in front of Zhao Zilong and stabbed at Zhao Zilong with his sword. Bang! Zhao Zilong knew that he was no match for him. After all, the gap between the two of them was about one realm. However, he still gritted his teeth and brandished his spear in an attempt to block the attack. However, the huge force directly knocked him off his horse. "Brat, don't even think about resisting. You're no match for me." Third brother sneered and shot the long sword in his hand directly at Zhao Zilong. Zhao Zilong already felt that death was in front of him. He had already closed his eyes and was ready to die. However, he suddenly felt the strength in his body increase. He didn't have time to think because he had already heard the sound of the long sword piercing through the air. The long sword was only a few feet away from him. Clang! Instinctively, he immediately picked up his long spear and accurately hit third brother's long sword. The long sword suffered an even greater impact and immediately returned to its original path. However, its speed was even faster. "Third brother, be careful." Wang Guanxiong reacted the fastest and immediately shouted, "What?" Third brother seemed to have seen his long sword pierce through Zhao Zilong's chest. He couldn't help but feel proud. A genius had died in his hands, which made him feel supreme pleasure. However, he didn't hear Wang Guanxiong's words clearly. He immediately turned around and looked at Wang Guanxiong. He didn't notice that his sword had already attacked him and directly pierced through his back. How is this possible? Third brother's body trembled and directly fell to the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. Until his death, he didn't understand why the sword that attacked Zhao Zilong had returned to its original path and pierced through his body. "Thank you, Lord, for saving my life." Zhao Zilong stood up happily and silently thanked him in his heart. The only person who could make his cultivation level increase so suddenly was probably the Lord. However, this increase in cultivation level was too timely. If it had been a second later, he would have probably died here. "Give me your lives." Zhao Zilong's eyes flashed with a bright light as he flew towards Wang Guanxiong. Although he wasn't used to flying for a moment, he quickly mastered it. How can this be? Including Wang Guanxiong, no one understood how a dying person's cultivation level could suddenly increase. Archers shoot. Although these low-level arrows couldn't cause any harm to Zhao Zilong, they would still affect him to a certain extent. Suddenly, thousands of arrows were shot rapidly towards Zhao Zilong. Damn it! Zhao Zilong was very unhappy. Although these arrows couldn't hurt him, he couldn't just ignore them. Therefore, he could only continuously shoot down the arrows. If he had to deal with so many arrows before, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it. However, he could do it now. However, it would also continuously deplete his strength and stamina. In order to conserve his martial arts power, Zhao Zilong had no choice but to land on the ground. Let's see how long you can last." Wang Guanxiong snorted coldly. He was now regretting it. If he had known earlier, he would have killed Zhao Zilong earlier. Then, he wouldn't have had to sacrifice two of his brothers for nothing. "Shoot! Shoot with all your might." Wang Guanxiong kept ordering the soldiers. All of you attack. Wang Guanxiong knew clearly that it was impossible to rely on arrows to deplete Zhao Zilong's stamina. He knew how strong a martial spirit was. Even if he used up all the arrows in Danyang City, it would still be impossible to deplete Zhao Zilong's stamina completely. Now, he could only use the lives of these soldiers to deplete Zhao Zilong's stamina. Hearing Wang Guanxiong's words, the group of soldiers immediately retreated. Zhao Zilong was so strong. If they went up, wouldn't they be courting death? Seeing that the soldiers were afraid to move forward, Wang Guanxiong hit a soldier's head with his palm. The soldier's brain immediately exploded and he died. This will be the outcome of those who don't listen to military orders. Whoever kills this thief will be rewarded with 1,000 taels of gold, the position of great general, and the cultivation of yellow rank martial arts. Wang Guanxiong threatened and tempted at the same time. I want great general. I'll fight you to the death. I want yellow rank martial arts. Kill. The gold is mine. Wang Guanxiong's temptation was obviously very effective. After all, humans die for wealth, and birds die for food. This was a principle that would never change. A bunch of mobs. Looking at the soldiers charging at him, Zhao Zilong swept away the army with his spear, instantly killing several people. However, it couldn't stop the greedy soldiers. The soldiers continued to swarm forward. Chapter 284. Kill. The battle cries echoed through the air, and the sound of weapons clashing was deafening. The air was filled with the smell of blood. Zhao Zilong's feet had already piled up into a pile of corpses. Kill. Zhao Zilong was panting heavily. He had already killed thousands of people and had used up half of his energy. No matter how strong Zhao Zilong was, he could not block attacks from all directions. There were many wounds on his body. As for the soldiers, they started to feel fear in their hearts. Their greedy hearts slowly calmed down. It was because Zhao Zilong was too terrifying. Thousands of people had already died in such a short time, but Zhao Zilong did not suffer any serious injuries. Big brother, I think this kid is about to die, Wang Guanxiong's subordinate said as he saw Zhao Zilong's movements slowing down. No rush. Wang Guanxiong did not want to risk his life anymore. His brothers could not die. He did not care about the soldiers from Rising Sun City. They were not his subordinates anyway. It would be best if they could exhaust Zhao Zilong to death. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Suddenly, the sound of horses galloping could be heard. What's going on? Wang Guanxiong's face changed. He looked into the distance and saw a cloud of dust. Dark shadows were rushing towards them. Big brother, this army is flying Zhao Zilong's flag. It seems to be that kid's army, Wang Guanxiong's subordinates said in a panic. Why are you panicking? Go and kill this kid first, Wang Guanxiong said calmly. General, we are here. Lu Fang shouted as he took the lead. Good. Seeing Lu Fang return, Zhao Zilong was overjoyed. Kill these soldiers for me. I will go and kill the others. Yes, sir. Trying to run? Not so easy. Wang Guanxiong saw that the situation was hopeless and wanted to escape with his subordinates. Zhao Zilong immediately raised his spear and chased after them. Seeing that Zhao Zilong was about to catch up, second brother immediately said to Wang Guanxiong, Big brother, you run first. My brothers and I will bring up the rear. Second brother, take care of yourselves. Wang Guanxiong didn't have time to say more and immediately ran away at full speed. Seeing that you guys are real men, I'll give you a quick death. Zhao Zilong admired their loyalty, but that didn't mean that he would let them go. Cut the crap. Brothers, let's go. As soon as the second brother finished speaking, he led 3 of his brothers to surround Zhao Zilong. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Zhao Zilong snorted. His figure flashed as he quickly chased after Wang Guanxiong. As for second brother and the other 3, they all fell to the ground after Zhao Zilong left. Taking a closer look, there was a faint mark on their necks. I'll let you go for now. After chasing for a while, Zhao Zilong did not see Wang Guanxiong's shadow and had to turn back. Brothers, I'm sorry. Seeing that Zhao Zilong had left, Wang Guanxiong walked out from a corner and knelt on the ground. Big brother, let's go quickly. That kid will catch up to us soon. Wang Guanxiong said worriedly with tears on his face. There was only one subordinate left beside Wang Guanxiong now. Brothers, I'll avenge you guys. You guys are my right-hand men. Now that you're dead, I've lost my right-hand man. I'm going to cut off one of my arms now, Wang Guanxiong said, and was about to cut off one of his shoulders. Big brother, you can't. Fifth brother hurriedly stopped him. Our brothers definitely don't want to see big brother like this. No, I have to become stronger so that I can avenge my brothers. Wang Guanxiong shook his head sadly. If I don't have the strength to avenge my brothers, what's the point of having this shoulder? If I can avenge my brothers, I can naturally grow a new shoulder. Wang Guanxiong's goal was to break through to the legendary Martial Saint realm. This was because at the Martial Saint level, one would have a chance to be reborn. At that time, one would be able to grow a new arm. However, it was too difficult to reach the Martial Saint realm, big brother. Fifth brother did not know what to say. Wang Guanxiong raised the weapon in his hand and cut off his left shoulder. Intense pain filled his head, and he almost fainted. However, Wang Guanxiong relied on his own willpower and bit his lip to persevere. Big brother, why are you doing this? Fifth brother could not bear to watch. Fifth brother, go. Find a place to spend the rest of your life. Wang Guanxiong looked at fifth brother and said reluctantly, Big brother, I'm not going. I want to follow you. Fifth brother hurriedly shook his head. Big brother, your life will be in danger this time. You're the only brother I have left. I can't bear to see anything happen to you. Wang Guanxiong stretched out his hand and wiped away fifth brother's tears. But big brother, I can't bear to part with you. Fifth brother cried sadly. When the time comes, big brother will come back for you. Wang Guanxiong forced a smile on his face. However, he had lost a lot of blood and his face was pale. He looked somewhat scary. Go! Wang Guanxiong pushed fifth brother away and said. Fifth brother immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times. Big brother, I'll wait for you. You can't lie to me. You must come back for me. Big brother, you must keep your word. Wang Guanxiong was talented. If he were to cultivate diligently, he would definitely achieve something. However, he was greedy for the life of the mortal world. He was not very interested in cultivation. However, this time, he had a complete epiphany. If it were not for him, there would not be only one of his brothers who had gone through fire and water with him. In fact, he had always hidden a secret in his heart. That secret was an opportunity, but it was also full of unknown dangers. However, he could not care less now. No matter how dangerous it was worth it because he wanted to avenge his brothers. Seeing Zhao Zilong carrying a few corpses, Lu Fang and the other generals quickly came over and asked, General, are you okay? I'm fine. Zhao Zilong threw the corpses on the ground. Bury these people. They can be considered men. Right, why did you come back? Didn't I tell you to retreat? Zhao Zilong suddenly asked solemnly. Because he had given a military order. No matter what, Lu Fang had disobeyed a military order and had to be punished. Lu Fang looked around and walked over to Zhao Zilong. General, I had already retreated. However, I suddenly felt that my cultivation had increased. I felt that it was because of the master, so I came back to help. Lu Fang looked around and whispered to Zhao Zilong. You also increased your cultivation. Zhao Zilong was overjoyed. Although Lu Fang had done the right thing, he could not set a precedent for the other generals. Zhao Zilong thought for a moment and gave Lu Fang an apologetic look. Lu Fang, receive your punishment. This general will punish you. Lu Fang saw Zhao Zilong's expression and immediately knelt on the ground. Chapter 285. Lu Fang also understood why Zhao Zilong did this. Nothing could be accomplished without rules. In the army, military orders were of utmost importance. Now that the army was getting bigger and there were more generals, they had to be strictly restrained. No matter what, there had to be punishment for disobeying military orders. There was no exception. Lu Fang disobeyed the military order without permission, so he should be beheaded. But since he has done a meritorious deed, his death sentence can be avoided, but he can't escape punishment. His official rank is a first-grade general, and he will be punished with 40 strikes. I will carry out the punishment, and his salary will be deducted for 3 months. You should take this as a warning. Once I take over Danyang City, I will carry out the punishment immediately. Danyang City was now an empty city. After all, the tens of thousands of soldiers have been killed. The king of Danyang country immediately opened the city gates and surrendered. The king of Danyang country knelt in front of the city gates and smiled at Zhao Zilong. General Zhao, you have an extraordinary aura. I have long heard of it. Now that I have seen it, it is indeed so. I have already prepared a banquet. Please take a seat. Thank you, king of Danyang country. Zhao Zilong glanced at the king of Danyang country and said lightly, "This is what I should do." The king of Danyang country quickly smiled. "Then please." Zhao Zilong gestured with his hand. Soon, all the generals were seated. Zhao Zilong sat on the main seat. The king of Danyang country and a group of officials stood to the side. "Generals, you must be tired. Please eat," the king of Danyang country said anxiously. This was because he had already drugged the dishes. This was originally prepared for Wang Guanxiong and the others. He did not expect to use it on Zhao Zilong. Wait a minute. Seeing that the generals were about to eat, Zhao Zilong put down his chopsticks. The king of Danyang country was shocked. Have we been discovered? This is the king of Danyang country's territory. The king of Danyang country should be the first to eat. If the host does not eat, how can we eat? Zhao Zilong said with a smile. General Zhao, you must be joking. I have already surrendered to you. How can I still be the king of Danyang country? The king of Danyang country smiled. Looks like I've been overthinking. I shouldn't have been discovered yet. The king of the Pil Sun country heaved a sigh of relief. Pa! Zhao Zilong suddenly smiled and threw his chopsticks on the table. Today, you have to eat whether you want or not. Someone come and feed him. The king of Danyang kingdom immediately knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. General, please spare my life. I know I was wrong. The generals were shocked. Fortunately, Zhao Zilong had discovered it in advance. Otherwise, they would have been in danger. Feed him. Zhao Zilong didn't care about the king of the Danyang kingdom's pleas for mercy as he shouted sternly. Feed them as well. Zhao Zilong pointed at the officials of Rising Sun City. General, this has nothing to do with us. Please spare our lives. A group of officials knelt on the ground and desperately begged for mercy. None of your business? Zhao Zilong sneered. Don't tell me you didn't know about this. The officials were speechless. Generals, remember this. This is a lesson. If you don't learn from it, you might lose your life. Zhao Zilong didn't forget to teach the generals. The generals quickly knelt on the ground and said, Thank you, General, for your teaching. We will remember it. Good. Today, we will eat together with the soldiers. Zhao Zilong smiled and walked out of the hall. The generals immediately followed him. As for the king of Danyang Kingdom, he was served by his own people and ate his own poisonous dishes. Lu Fang, do you blame me? Late at night, Zhao Zilong walked into Lu Fang's tent with a pile of food and asked, General, why are you here? I am guilty now. It won't be good if others see me. Lu Fang quickly struggled to get up. Zhao Zilong had beaten Lu Fang in front of the army to give the generals a warning. He didn't show any mercy. Don't worry, I've already sent them away. Hearing Lu Fang's words, Zhao Zilong felt gratified. Come and eat something. I hope you don't blame me. I had no choice. Zhao Zilong bitterly smiled. Why would I blame you? We are all working for the Lord. This is nothing. Lu Fang smiled. Inside Ranmin's camp. The Lord has really helped me a lot. Ranmin had been like Zhao Zilong in the past few days. He had been stuck in a stalemate. For the past few days, he had been stuck in a deadlock. Just as he was feeling vexed, he realized that he had actually broken through. Men, bring me wine. Ranmin was very happy and couldn't help but shout towards the outside of the tent. General, please have some wine. A soldier walked in with a pile of food. Ranmin looked at the soldier and said, Raise your head. The soldier's sleeve moved and a dagger appeared in his hand. Dog, give me your life. The great general of the White Star Nation can actually be an assassin. Seeing the soldier's face, Ranmin couldn't help but laugh. The person in front of him was the one who worried him. His strength was at the 8th level martial spirit. Before he broke through, he was definitely a big threat to him. Originally, he wanted to personally deal with him. He didn't expect that he would deliver himself to his door. You want to kill me? You're still far from it. Ran Min threw the wine cup in his hand at the soldier's wrist. The soldier groaned. The dagger in his hand fell to the ground. The soldier's handsome face suddenly changed. You were hiding your strength. So what? Ran Min punched the soldier's chest. The soldier couldn't block it in time. Bang! The soldier retreated a few steps and quickly covered his chest with his hand. It's actually a woman. I was wondering why she was so beautiful. Ran Min felt the softness in his hand. Moreover, the soldier's helmet was also knocked off by him. The soldier's hair scattered, revealing his woman's face. Catch the assassin. Hearing the commotion in the tent, a group of soldiers immediately rushed in. Get out of here. Don't come in without my orders. Ran Min impatiently waved his hand. The soldiers immediately retreated. Tell me, who are you to the White Star Nation? Ran Min stared at Bai Yin and asked curiously. Bai Yin coldly snorted. She didn't want to talk to Ran Min. Haha, your temper is quite explosive. You don't want to talk, right? Ran Min deliberately rubbed his hands and laughed as he walked towards Bai Yin. Bai Yin saw Ran Min's expression and felt fear in her heart. What do you want? Are you going to talk or not? Ran Min continued to ask. Bai Yin was really afraid. At the same time, she regretted it. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have been so willful. If she had listened to her father, she wouldn't have fallen into the wolf's den. I am the princess of the White Star Nation and the great general of the White Star Nation. Chapter 286. It's none of your business. Bai Yin snorted. At the same time, she was thinking about how to escape from this place. However, when she saw Ran Min's height and strength, she felt helpless. Ran Min took a few steps closer. Bai Yin was afraid that Ran Min would do something to her, so she immediately called out. All right, you can go now. Remember to ask your father to open the gates and surrender. He has no way to resist. Ran Min said and walked out of the tent. What? Bai Yin was surprised. She thought that Ran Min was going to do something to her. She didn't expect him to let her go so easily. This big idiot, he won't fall for me. Bai Yin frowned as she thought. Whatever, she had to leave this place first. Bai Yin was afraid that Ran Min would regret it, so she quickly put on her helmet and ran away. General, have you taken a liking to her? Ran Min stood in the corner and looked at Bai Yin's back as he inquired. I think you want to get beaten up. Ran Min reached out to hit the guard, but the guard immediately ran away. Bai Yin, that's a good name. I must marry you. Ran Min's heart was filled with love for Bai Yin, so he couldn't help but mutter. My precious daughter, where did you go? Do you know that you worry me to death? Baixing Nation was originally a marquis nation. The emperor of Baixing Nation gave birth to a genius daughter. Now, the nation's rank was raised to king nation. Therefore, Bai Yin had always been the apple of his eye. When he knew that Bai Yin left the city, he was even more worried. When he saw Bai Yin return, he finally let out a sigh of relief. Flyer, big idiot. Bai Yin stomped her feet angrily. What's wrong, my dear daughter? Who made you angry? Emperor Baixing quickly stroked his beloved daughter's hair and asked gently. It's the enemy's general, Ran Min. He always said that he was a martial king. Only now did I know that he was hiding his strength. He is clearly a martial spirit pinnacle. Bai Yin said angrily. What? Emperor Baixing was shocked. How is that possible? Then we are finished. Baixing Nation and Ran Min couldn't win in terms of soldiers. It was his daughter, who was a martial spirit elite, that made Ran Min not dare to act rashly. If they lost this advantage, then the White Star Nation would be gone. Daughter, why don't we surrender? King Baixing frowned for a long time before making a difficult decision. Father, I will never surrender. Bai Yin immediately refused. Even so, Father, you can't allow the entire White Star Nation to suffer the calamity of the Blood Dome. The king of the White Star Nation had actually planned to surrender from the very beginning. Moreover, if they surrendered, other than having their military power taken away, they could still hold an official position. However, Bai Yin rejected his offer. Bai Yin suddenly thought of Ran Min's attitude towards her and immediately thought of a plan. Father, if I can pull Ran Min to our side, what would happen? That's impossible. Emperor Bai Xing shook his head with a bitter smile. Until now, he still hadn't found out Ran Min's power. Moreover, he was clearly at a disadvantage right now. Unless Ran Min's brain was damaged, he wouldn't do this. Father, just wait and see. Bai Yin felt that her plan was working, so she immediately ran out of the palace. Where are you going this time? The White Star King hurriedly asked. Father, don't worry about it. Bai Yin's joyful voice was heard. Emperor Bai Xing shook his head and said, let this last do as she pleases. The worst-case scenario would be surrendering. Where's your great General Ran Min? Tell him that the Princess of the White Star Nation, Bai Yin, is here to see him. Bai Yin had already changed into a female outfit and was riding on a horse in front of Ran Min's camp. Wait here, I'll go and report this. Hearing that she was looking for Ran Min and that it was a princess, the guard didn't dare to delay. Reporting to the general, there's a lady in front of the camp looking for you. The guard immediately reported to Ran Min's camp. Who is it? Ran Min was thinking about something, and his mind was filled with Bai Yan's figure. He didn't even raise his head as he asked. The guard quickly said, she said she's the princess of the White Star Nation, and her name is Bai Yin. Ran Min suddenly sat up straight, and his face was filled with surprise. What did you say? Quickly invite her in. Yes. The guard quickly ran out. Ran Min also quickly got up and tidied his clothes. Great General Ran Min, you sure are arrogant. You don't even know how to welcome a little girl. Bai Yin said sweetly. When Ran Min saw Bai Yan's appearance, his eyes lit up. Bai Yin was wearing a white glazed dress. When she raised her hands and stamped her feet, she emitted a feminine charm. It's my fault for not being a good host. I hope Princess Bai Yin won't be offended. May I know why Princess Bai Yin is here? Although Ran Min's heart was beating fast, he knew that Bai Yin wouldn't visit him for no reason. I'm just asking you, do you like this princess? Bai Yin went straight to the point and stared at Ran Min. Ran Min was shocked and spat out the tea in his mouth. He was afraid that he heard wrongly. What did Princess Bai Yin say? This princess wants to marry you. Seeing Ran Min's embarrassed expression, Bai Yin felt disdain in her heart. However, she still covered her mouth and laughed. Are you serious? Ran Min immediately stood up, afraid that Bai Yin would go back on her words. Yes, but I have a condition. Bai Yin's tone changed as she looked at Ran Min. Ran Min immediately asked, Lady Bai, please say it. I'll agree to it. Vote. Me. White. Star. Bai Yin narrowed her eyes and said word by word. Ran Min's expression changed, and he couldn't help but shout, What? This is impossible. I will never betray my master. Bai Yin didn't expect Ran Min to be so angry. She frowned and asked, Is this princess not as important as your master? No one can compare to my master in my heart. Ran Min's tone was firm as he turned around. If this is your condition, then please go back. You. Bai Yin was so angry that she couldn't speak. She didn't understand why Ran Min was so loyal to his master. Was she so unattractive? Bai Yin was indignant. She wanted to fling her sleeves and leave. Just as she reached the door, Bai Yin stopped, and her eyes revealed a cold expression. She turned around and said, General Ran, there's no need to be angry. This princess was just joking with you. Oomph. Ran Min angrily snorted. General Ran, I was just testing you. Bai Yin, I'm looking for a man. I don't need to understand him. Don't be angry. I really want to marry you. Bai Yin put her arm on Ran Min's shoulder and said in a gentle tone. However, the disgust in her eyes revealed her inner thoughts. Chapter 287. Of course, if you really want to marry me, you can come to White Star Palace tomorrow to ask for my hand in marriage. As for whether you will come or not, that will depend on whether you have the guts to do so. White Smoke smiled and kissed Old K's face. Then, she ran out of the tent. General, this woman's words can't be trusted. Ding Feng walked in from the back of the tent and advised Ran Min, who was in a daze. No, Ran Min interrupted Ding Feng. I fell in love with Bai Yin at first sight. Regardless of whether it's true or not, I have to try. I don't want to regret it. "Great general, if you don't come out in an hour, I'll lead my men to attack the city." Seeing Ran Min's infatuated look, Ding Feng knew that his advice was useless. Ran Min nodded and agreed with Ding Feng's decision. "I hope you're not lying to me." Ran Min touched his face and was lost in thought. He muttered softly with a pure smile on his face. The next day, under the gaze of millions of soldiers, Ran Min walked straight to White Star Imperial City with his double-edged spear. Outside White Star Imperial City, red satin was hung everywhere. When Ran Min saw this, he was slightly relieved. "Great General Ran, please leave your weapon behind and enter the palace alone." A general came forward and said respectfully to Ran Min. Ran Min's face was filled with displeasure as he said in a low voice, "This double-edged spear has never left my body." "What do you mean by this?" Seeing Ran Min angry, the general was a little afraid and quickly explained with a smile, "This is the princess's idea. Her Highness said that today is a good day and bringing weapons is inauspicious." "What's inauspicious about it? Get out of my way." Ran Min's face was filled with impatience as he kicked the general away. Ran Min walked into the city alone. The commoners in the city all had smiles on their faces. This atmosphere isn't right. Looking at the crowd on the road, there were too many young and strong men. Ran Min raised his guard and continued to walk towards the palace. Boom! The sound of the city gate closing came from behind. Ran Min could clearly feel that the air was filled with killing intent. "General, please drink this bowl of wine." Suddenly, a row of maids walked over with a jade bowl in their hands and said to Ran Min, looking at the bowl of wine in the maid's hand. Ran Min smiled and said, "I don't drink." The maidservant's expression changed, and she quickly said, "This is the custom of our Baixing kingdom. If the general wants to marry the princess, please drink this bowl of wine." Old K looked at the maid and asked in a serious tone, "Is there something in your wine?" "Haha, I'm just joking with you. If your princess wants me to drink, how can I not drink?" Ran Min stared at the maid. Seeing the maid's eyes darting around, Ran Min already knew what was going on. He picked up the bowl of wine and drank it in one gulp. Using his sleeve to wipe his mouth, he said, "It really is good wine." Seeing that Ran Min's bowl was empty, the maid couldn't help but feel happy. A smile appeared on her face again. "Please enter the palace. The princess is waiting for you." Yes. Old Kane knew that this was most likely a trap that White Smoke had set for him, waiting for him to fall into. However, Ran Min was still unwilling to give up and walked towards the palace. "Men, take him down." Bai Yin calculated the effects of the medicine. When it was almost done, Bai Yin suddenly appeared in the air and shouted, "Wallalala!" Immediately, thousands of soldiers rushed out from all directions, surrounding Ran Min so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. What is the meaning of this? Ran Min felt a pain in his heart. It was an indescribable feeling. The thing that he didn't want to see still happened. Do you think you are worthy of this princess? You want to marry this princess? What wishful thinking. Bai Yin coldly looked at Ran Min, her tone filled with disdain. "Ha ha!" Ran Min looked up to the sky and laughed. "Wishful thinking? What wishful thinking?" Ran Min's voice was filled with sadness. He had never cried before, but now, two streams of tears uncontrollably flowed down his face. "Kill this arrogant person." Seeing Ran Min's appearance, Bai Yin wasn't moved at all. Instead, she was even more disgusted. "Come." Ran Min's body emitted killing intent. He just wanted to kill to his heart's content. "Kill." The 3,000 soldiers heard Bai Yan's order and shouted in unison. Scram! Ran Min roared as the double-edged spear in his hand danced. The double-edged spear could be used to attack from both sides, so Ran Min didn't even need to defend. He only needed to attack. He just needed to vent his anger. Under Ran Min's double-edged spear, no one was a match for him. In an instant, hundreds of people died. Ran Min became more and more courageous as he fought. He attacked the soldiers around him. These soldiers were all his vents. This is too scary. Didn't he say that he had no battle strength left? "Princess, you must have lied to us. I don't want to fight anymore. This is just throwing away our lives." Looking at Ran Min, who was like a killing god, the remaining soldiers became more and more afraid as they fought. They couldn't help but retreat. Ran Min roared, "Today, I will slaughter everyone in the city. Don't even think about escaping." How can this be? Bai Yin didn't understand. Logically speaking, if Ran Min drank her wine, he should have lost all his martial arts. Seeing Ran Min's battle strength, Bai Yin knew that she wasn't his match. That was why she only dared to watch from the sky. She didn't dare to go down and fight with Ran Min, gather the soldiers. "We must kill him." Looking at Ran Min's murderous eyes, Bai Yin quickly ordered, "Let's see how much you can kill." There were 100,000 soldiers hidden in the imperial city. She didn't believe that Ran Min could kill all of them. "I will kill as many as come." Ran Min looked at the endless stream of soldiers. At this moment, there was already a river of blood under his feet. "Ha ha, great. Let's see how long you can last." Bai Yin snorted coldly. At this moment, the number of soldiers killed by Ran Min had reached 10,000. Among them were 3,000 elite soldiers. Those 3,000 elite soldiers were equivalent to 30,000 soldiers. Although she could deal with them, she couldn't do it as easily as Ran Min. On the other hand, Ran Min was filled with murderous intent. It was as if he was a killing machine. At this moment, he didn't know what fatigue was. "Go." Bai Yin was regretting her decision. But since things had already come to this, she could only grit her teeth and endure. "Kill." Within the White Star Imperial City, shouts of killing shook the heavens. Soldiers poured in endlessly. When the soldiers in front of Ran Min died, the soldiers behind immediately took their place. "Time's up. Attack the city." Ding Feng was waiting anxiously in front of the White Star Imperial Palace. He immediately ordered his subordinates. "What is the meaning of this? Your great general is proposing marriage in my city. How dare you attack the city?" The soldiers of the White Star Kingdom had all been sent away. At this moment, there were only a few hundred people on the city wall. Seeing that Ding Feng was going to attack the city, a general quickly came out and shouted, "Go to hell." Ding Feng didn't even care about him and took him down with a swing of his sword. Chapter 288. Not good. Find the general for me. After breaking through the gate and seeing that there was no one on the streets, Ding Feng hurriedly ordered, "General, there are sounds of killing coming from the palace." One of the generals quickly reported. Ding Feng immediately ordered, "General Zhang, bring your men and surround the city. Remember, don't let anyone go. The rest of you, follow me to save the general. Kill them, don't let anyone go." After breaking through the Baixing Kingdom's palace, Ding Feng raised his sword and cut down a few enemy soldiers. "Don't move, these are all mine." Old K roared. Right now, only slaughter could extinguish the anger in his heart. Ran Min's body was covered in blood. Even his hair and face were covered in blood. His body was covered in a thick, murderous aura, as if he was a bloodthirsty demon. Ding Feng looked at Ran Min with heartache, and then looked at the white smoke in the air. He knew what had happened. Soldiers surround the palace. Don't kill anyone, and don't let anyone go. Yes. The archers immediately took out their bows and aimed at the soldiers of the Baixing Kingdom. The soldiers of the Baixing Kingdom were already afraid of Ran Min. Now that they were surrounded, they were in a dilemma. Their morale was low, and they had no fighting power left. "Ran Min, stop. I will marry you." Bai Yin knew that she had lost her chance. So she shouted at Ran Min. Ran Min acted as if he didn't hear her and continued to kill the enemy. "General Ran, I know I was wrong. Please stop." Seeing that Ran Min didn't respond to her, Bai Yin continued to shout. Ran Min continued to wave the double-edged spear in his hand. "I surrender. I surrender. I don't want to fight anymore. Have mercy." More than half of the soldiers of the Baixing Kingdom had been killed. More of them knelt down and begged for mercy. Phew! Suddenly, Ran Min put away his double-edged spear. "Watch these people. Follow me." Ran Min acted as if he didn't see Bai Yin and walked towards the palace. "Ran Min, what are you doing?" Seeing Ran Min walking towards the palace, Bai Yin couldn't help but feel anxious. This was because her father and mother both lived in the palace. Although Bai Yin was anxious, she didn't dare to go down. She could only hope that Ran Min would forgive her. She kept talking to Ran Min gently. "Capture the person for me." Ran Min stood on the steps of the main hall. and shouted in a deep voice. Soon, the emperor of the Baixing kingdom and some of his concubines were all captured. I surrender, I surrender. Emperor Baixing was still waiting for his daughter's good news, but to his surprise, he was captured instead. Emperor Baixing hurriedly knelt at Ranmin's feet and shouted, Father! Baiyan couldn't bear to see her father kneeling on the ground. Hearing Baiyan's voice, Emperor Baixing raised his head and shouted anxiously, Daughter, run. Don't worry about father. Ranmin, I beg you, let my father go. Seeing Ranmin raise his weapon, Baiyan finally gave up her arrogance. As long as you let my father go, I'll listen to you. Follow me. Old K said disheartened. At this moment, Ranmin's mind was filled with those words. Wishful thinking, and Baiyan's disgusted gaze, all of these were like sharp swords that kept stabbing into the depths of his heart, making him suffer unspeakably. This kind of invisible pain was thousands of times more painful than the injuries he had suffered on the battlefield. Daughter, don't. Emperor Baixing immediately stopped her. Baiyan hesitated for a moment and snorted coldly in her heart. After all this time, wasn't it all for her body? He couldn't blame her for looking down on him. Baiyan immediately put on a pitiful expression as she walked into the main hall and closed the door. She walked behind Ranmin and hugged his back. She said softly, I know I'm wrong. Can you forgive me? Ranmin closed his eyes in pain. His heart was filled with sorrow as he said softly, Take off your clothes. Baiyan immediately did as she was told. Ranmin walked out of the main hall. The main hall was burning with raging flames, making it impossible for people to see inside the main hall. Kill everyone and set the city on fire. Ranmin gave an order that he had never given before. General, you can't. There are still civilians in the city. Ding Feng immediately advised. Listen to my orders. I will ask for forgiveness from the Lord. After Ranmin finished speaking, he left alone. His back view was filled with sorrow. Because it was only yesterday, he thought that he had found his true love. Looking back, it was just a flash in the pan. General Ding, this. A general looked at Ding Feng and asked, Kill. He had never seen Ranmin like this before. This meant that Ranmin was truly moved and hurt. Since Ranmin wanted to destroy this city, he had to be able to extinguish Ranmin's anger. General, what are you doing? Ding Feng was afraid that Ranmin was still sad, so he brought some food and wine to check. However, he realized that Ranmin wasn't depressed. Instead, he was studying the map. Haha, it's General Ding. Come take a look at the route I drew. Ranmin had a smile on his face. He was completely different from when he was in Baixing Palace. Oh, okay. Ding Feng didn't expect Ranmin to recover so quickly. He quickly looked at the food and wine in his hand and walked over. However, Ding Feng didn't notice that the corner of Ranmin's eyes had a trace of sadness. However, he concealed it very well. In the ancient ruins, Yi Hao suddenly opened his eyes. Yi Hao looked at the devourer beast and said to it, Open the door to the ancient ruins. Remember to let a few people in and immediately close the door. Yi Hao didn't forget to remind the devourer beast. If he really allowed everyone to enter, then his plan would be in vain. Moreover, he still had to avenge his palm strike. At this moment, the martial emperors outside the sect were already impatient from waiting. However, the number of people outside didn't decrease. Instead, it increased. It's already been 9 days. Why hasn't the ancient ruins opened yet? This kid must have obtained some treasures inside. He might even have obtained the inheritance of a supreme expert. This kid made us wait for so long and caused us to not be able to enter. I must tear him into pieces. Rumble. At this moment, a path the size of a person suddenly appeared in the smoke of the ancient ruins. At the same time, the ancient stone door slowly opened. The door is open. That kid is coming out. Everyone, quickly set up the barrier. We can't let that kid escape. Seeing that the ancient ruins had opened, all the martial emperors were surprisingly prepared. They all took out their spiritual weapons. They opened their eyes wide and looked at the entrance of the ancient ruins. They didn't dare to be careless. At the same time, they used their mental power to lock onto the entrance of the ancient ruins. They were afraid that Yi Hao would suddenly run away. However, after waiting for a long time, the door of the ancient ruins was still half open. There was no reaction. Chapter 289. Everyone, don't let down your guard. That brat must know that we are waiting for him, so he won't dare to come out for a while. That's right. This brat is too cunning. Everyone, keep your eyes on him. Everyone agreed with this statement. They did not let down their guard and stared at the entrance of the primordial ruins. What's going on with this group of people? Did they leave? After waiting for a long time, Yi Hao, who had been waiting inside, did not move at all. Should I go out and take a look? Since the primordial ruins had a special power, even if the door opened, the people inside would not be able to hear what was going on outside. The people outside would also not be able to hear what was going on inside. Originally, Yi Hao could still see inside from outside. However, now that he was inside, he did not know why he could not see outside at all. Yi Hao walked to the door and quietly poked his head out. Hey! Yi Hao instantly saw dozens of pairs of eyes staring at him. Before anyone could react, he immediately pulled his head back. What a joke! There were dozens of martial emperors. If each of them threw an attack at him, he would probably be reduced to ashes. Everyone quickly attacked. Although the martial emperors reacted quickly, they were not as fast as Yi Hao. If dozens of powerful attacks were thrown at a city with a population of 1 million people, it was estimated that the entire city would be reduced to nothing. However, when the attacks hit the stone door, it was like hitting cotton. It was completely ineffective. Phew! Fortunately, I reacted quickly. Yi Hao was also shocked. Not to mention him, even Zhang Fei and Wu Song would probably be reduced to ashes if they went out now. When these martial emperors attacked together, it was not as simple as 1 + 1. Even if a martial sage was here, he would probably have to give way. Just a little bit more, and we would have hit that brat. What a pity! When the martial emperors saw that Yi Hao had retreated unscathed, they were immediately annoyed. This won't do. I have to lure them in. Yi Hao made up his mind. He could not waste time with them like this. At this time, he had to start taunting them. Only then would he be able to lure the group of martial emperors in and kill them all in one fell swoop. However, Yi Hao was stunned. The people outside could not hear what he was saying. What was there to taunt them for? However, none of this was a problem for Yi Hao. System, help me exchange for a voice recorder. Yi Hao finished recording the quotes and threw it out. Don't break it. Wait. Everyone saw a white object fly out. Just as they were about to attack, they thought it was some kind of magic treasure. However, when the white object fell to the ground, a martial emperor hurriedly stopped it. What kind of spirit weapon is this? Everyone be careful. Be careful of hidden weapons. All the martial emperors stared at the recording horn attentively, not daring to act rashly. Ahem, there's a broken wine bottle. Yi Hao's voice came from the recording speaker. What is it? The martial emperors carefully took a step back. Clearly, they feared this thing that they had never seen before. All of them prepared to attack at any moment. You bunch of trash, you bunch of trash, you still want to snatch this young master's treasure? Don't be delusional, go back and sleep. You bunch of trash, this young master is still not going out. Let's see what you're going to do, you bunch of lowlifes. Bang. The martial emperors stared at the recording llama. After being scolded by Yi Hao for a whole incense stick's worth of time, one of the martial emperors could not take it anymore and smashed the recording speaker. This is a great humiliation. This is infuriating. The martial emperor was furious. As for the other martial emperors, their faces were also cold, almost dripping water. Who were they? They were the powerhouses of this continent. To be able to cultivate to such a level, which one of them did not have amazing talent and was worshipped and respected by countless people. However, today, so many martial emperors were actually scolded by an ant. More importantly, he scolded for a whole incense stick's worth of time. That was not important. What was important was that they actually listened to the whole thing. I'm going to cut this kid into pieces. The martial emperor had clearly lost his mind and rushed toward the door of the ancient ruins. Be careful. The martial emperors hurriedly stopped him. This was because people over the age of 20 were not allowed to enter the ancient ruins at all. If they barged in recklessly, they would definitely be attacked. He seems to have entered. The martial emperors originally thought that he would be seriously injured, but they did not expect him to enter so easily. "Kid, I'm going to kill you." The martial emperor rushed into the ancient ruins and roared at Yi Hao. However, when he was caught by Zhang Fei, he immediately cried, I'm sorry, I seem to have entered the wrong place. Cut the crap. Do you want to live or die?" Time was running out, so Yi Hao immediately asked, "That this?" The martial emperor wanted to stall for time, hoping that the martial emperors outside would not hesitate and rush in quickly. "Kill him." Yi Hao did not have time to talk nonsense with him and directly said softly, No, I want to live." The martial emperor's heart was filled with bitterness. He did not know where Yi Hao found such an expert. "Eat it." Zhang Fei took out a pill and said to the martial emperor. The martial emperor did not dare to hesitate and immediately swallowed it. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for subduing a third-order martial emperor expert. You have received 300,000 experience points and 300,000 resurrection points. All right, now that my level is high, even the experience points are less. Yi Hao heard the voice in his mind. He remembered that when he subdued the first martial emperor underling, Chun Ziqiao, he received 500,000 experience points and resurrection points. Greetings to the Lord. After eating the pill, Song did not feel uncomfortable, but his mind was filled with worship for Zhang Fei and Yi Hao. Be prepared to fight at any time, Yi Hao said softly. At the same time, he did not forget to remind the devourer beast, remember, don't let too many martial emperors in. Everyone, the restriction seems to have lost its effect. Then what are we waiting for? This is the ancient ruins. Let's go in quickly. Seeing that Song had safely entered the ancient ruins, all the martial emperors were instantly excited. This was the ancient ruins, and since its appearance until now, there had always been a restriction. Who knew how many reckless people had tried to barge in, but they were all blasted to pieces. Now that the restriction was suddenly gone, a great opportunity was in front of them. How could they not be excited? In an instant, more than a dozen young martial emperors rushed in. Only the more mature martial emperors did not dare to act rashly. Boom! Just as the remaining martial emperors were still hesitating, the door to the ancient ruins suddenly closed. What was going on? Seeing that the entrance to the ancient ruins had disappeared, the martial emperors who had not entered became anxious. Chapter 290. Sir, you're right. We need to guard the exit even more strictly. It's a pity that we can't see what the ancient ruins look like. Many of the martial emperors who didn't enter were annoyed and regretful, but they agreed with the old man's words. Attack! Yi Hao shouted when he saw the 10 martial emperors enter. Although Yi Hao was only a rank 3 Emperor Wu, he had no problem dealing with a rank 1 martial emperor. Therefore, Yi Hao immediately faced off against a first-order martial emperor. Zhang Fei was fighting 4 martial emperors by himself, while Wu Song was fighting 3 martial emperors by himself. Song He also faced a martial emperor. Although the dragon and devourer beast hadn't reached the rank of martial emperor, they were still able to hold back a martial emperor. Brat, you want to fight me? Hegan was shocked when he saw Zhang Fei and Wu Song's strength. He didn't understand where these cultivators came from. However, when he saw Yi Hao charging towards him, Hegan couldn't help but sneer. In Hegan's eyes, Yi Hao was only a rank 3 Emperor Wu, but he was just a small fry that he could kill in a second. Hee, the spatial treasure is mine. Seeing Yi Hao, Hegan's face was filled with greed. He used 70% of his strength to attack Yi Hao. A huge wave rushed towards him. Yi Hao immediately used the 1,000 falling leaves palms. Brat, so what if you use martial skills? Because Yi Hao's cultivation was low, Hegan didn't even bother to use martial skills. In front of a powerful cultivator, even martial skills were useless. He obviously regretted looking down on Yi Hao. When the 1,000 falling leaves palms arrived in front of him, he was terrified. How is this possible? Although he didn't use any martial skills, he still used 70% of his strength. Even if he couldn't kill Yi Hao, His attack shouldn't have been shattered by Yi Hao's 1,000 falling leaves palms. Pooh! The 1,000 falling leaves palms was already in front of him. It was impossible to dodge. Higan was hit by hundreds of palms and was forced back dozens of steps. His chi and blood surged as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Don't move if you don't want to die. As soon as Higan steadied himself, Yi Hao's voice rang in his ears. How is this possible? So fast. Higan couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the blood-stained dual blades on his neck. How was this Emperor Wu rank 3? This was too abnormal. He was a martial emperor, yet he was defeated by a stage 3 Emperor Wu. How'd you do it? Higan looked at Yi Hao in shock. Who are you? It was impossible for such a genius to be so unknown. If you don't want to die, eat this pill. If you want to die, I'll send you on your way, Yi Hao said softly. What kind of pill is this? Higan didn't dare to take it and asked cautiously. Yi Hao frowned and showed an impatient expression. The blood-stained dual blades in his hands moved and instantly cut open a layer of Higan's skin. Don't, I'll eat it. Higan didn't want to die at this level. Even if Yi Hao's pill was poison, it wouldn't harm his life. Otherwise, Yi Hao wouldn't have done this. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for subduing a first-order martial emperor. You have received 100,000 experience and 100,000 resurrection points. After Higan swallowed the pill, a notification sounded in Yi Hao's mind. Go and help them. Yi Hao pointed at the giant dragon and said. The giant dragon and the other magical beasts' average strength was at Emperor Wu's level. It was already very good for them to be able to fight a martial emperor and not lose. Now that Higan joined, they immediately had the upper hand. Are you crazy? How are you going to help them? The martial emperor was already angry, and now Higan joined the battle. He originally thought that Higan was on his side, but he didn't expect Higan to help the magical beasts. I'll help you. Seeing that Song He and a martial emperor were fighting fiercely, Yi Hao immediately flew over. Trash also dares to be so arrogant. The martial emperor obviously didn't pay attention to the battle between Yi Hao and Higan. Like Higan, he was full of contempt for Yi Hao. Black Dragon Rush. The martial emperor roared, and a black dragon more than 10 meters long appeared on his weapon. It ferociously charged at Yi Hao. Earth-devouring palm. The Black Dragon Rush's aura was very strong, and Yi Hao didn't dare to underestimate it. He immediately used an Earth-level martial skill. A black hole formed in Yi Hao's hand, and it quickly collided with the Black Dragon. So strong, Yi Hao endured the huge impact, and his body retreated half a step. A third-order martial emperor was indeed several times stronger than a first-order martial emperor. Yi Hao abruptly stopped his retreat and continued to transfer energy to the earth-devouring palm. This martial emperor had obviously reached third-order martial emperor earlier than Song He. Not only was he able to fight evenly with Song He, but he was also able to make Yi Hao suffer. Brat, let's see how long you can last. Seeing that Yi Hao could withstand his Black Dragon Rush, the martial emperor was shocked. This was an earth-level martial skill, and even a first-order martial emperor would be seriously injured. However, Yi Hao was only a third-order Emperor Wu, and he only retreated half a step. The martial emperor moved his palm, and more energy was transferred into the black dragon's body. Roar! The black dragon seemed to be alive, and it roared towards the sky. It swung its tail and fiercely collided with the earth-devouring palm. Bang, bang, the black dragon continued to collide, and its energy was constantly depleted. Its body was also constantly shrinking. On the other hand, Yi Hao's earth-devouring palm was shrinking faster, and at the same time, a crack appeared on the surface of the palm. Break for me! Seeing that the earth-devouring palm was about to shatter, Yi Hao raised his blood-scarred dual blades and roared loudly. Boom! The blood-scarred dual blades slashed the black dragon's body, and the black dragon instantly shattered. Pooh! After being hit by the powerful aftershock, Yi Hao couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? What kind of weapon is this? How can it shatter my black dragon barrier? The shattering of the martial skill immediately attracted the martial emperor's attention. Yi Hao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He raised his blood-scarred dual blades and attacked the martial emperor again. The martial emperor originally thought that he could kill Yi Hao in one fell swoop, but now he had used up more than half of his energy, and it was very difficult for him to fight against two people. He also didn't dare to use the Black Dragon Barrier casually, because it consumed too much energy. If he couldn't kill Yi Hao in one fell swoop, then he would be doomed. As for Zhang Fei, he was even more ferocious and invincible. He was able to deal with 4 martial emperors with ease, and so far, he hadn't fallen into a disadvantageous position. The 4 martial emperors were also scheming against Zhang Fei, and they wanted to deplete his energy. Zhang Fei purposely revealed an opening, and, as expected, an impatient martial emperor immediately fell for it. Zhang Fei's serpent spear fiercely attacked the martial emperor's abdomen. The impatient martial emperor was directly smashed to the ground. Even though it was a rocky ground, a huge crater several meters deep was smashed open. Chapter 291. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights before Yi Hao finally subdued all of the martial emperors. Of course, they were all injured. 2 of them would rather die than submit, and one of them was stabbed to death by Zhang Fei's spear. The last one was the martial emperor who used the oolong chuang. At the crucial moment, he was split into 2 by Yi Hao. The oolong chuang was also dropped. "You said you want to eat him?" Hearing the devourer beast's voice in his mind, Yi Hao pointed at the martial emperor's corpse and asked. The devourer beast immediately nodded and stared at Yi Hao with desire. "Then eat him." Although Yi Hao wasn't used to his demonic beast eating people, he didn't object. After receiving Yi Hao's approval, the devourer beast happily pounced on the martial emperor's corpse and swallowed it. Yi Hao stood at the side and watched. He wanted to see if the devourer beast would change after eating the martial emperor's corpse. Up until now, the devourer beast was still in the shape of a rock, which made Yi Hao very unhappy. His demonic beast wasn't mighty and domineering, but it couldn't be a rock. As if it knew Yi Hao's thoughts, the devourer beast suddenly trembled and its body began to change. After a few seconds, the devourer beast actually turned into the martial emperor he had swallowed. More importantly, even the aura was the same. "Greetings, my lord." The devourer beast's voice was a little shaky. "You can speak." Only Saint Realm demonic beasts could speak, but the devourer beast was only at Emperor Wu's level. No. When did it break through to 3rd Order Martial Emperor? Yi Hao looked at the devourer beast in shock. In the beginning, the devourer beast had only broken through to Emperor Wu's level after swallowing countless demonic beast corpses, which was a 7th Order demonic beast. However, this growth speed was already abnormal enough, even more abnormal than his own system. But how did it become a 3rd Order Martial Emperor in the blink of an eye? "My lord, this is my innate skill," the devourer beast replied honestly. Could this be the devourer's camouflage skill? But this was too awesome. Yi Hao wondered if the devourer could gain the strength of a martial god's corpse. "Master, what kind of magical beast is this? What a perverted magical beast. I've never heard of it before. He can actually take on the appearance of a devourer. Even his aura is exactly the same." When the group of subdued martial emperors saw the changes in the devouring beast, they were all flabbergasted. He's called the devouring beast. These people were now absolutely loyal to him, so Yi Hao did not hide it anymore. Devouring beast, just the name alone is enough to make one sick. Do you think the devouring beast is related to the devouring demon god? A martial emperor suddenly asked. What? Hearing this name, everyone's hearts were filled with fear. When Yi Hao saw the fear on everyone's faces, he was curious. Who is the devouring demon god? Reporting to my lord, a martial emperor immediately explained. No one knew the origin of the devouring demon god. It was as if he had appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, the devouring demon god grew rapidly. For others, it would take tens of thousands of years to cultivate to the martial god realm. Even for geniuses, it would take thousands of years. From the time the devouring demon god appeared to the time it took to conquer the continent, it was less than 100 years. He won countless followers, but of course, it also affected the interests and status of others. In the end, it inevitably led to a war. Since that time, the devouring demon god had never been seen again. It was said that he was killed by someone from the upper realm. Upper realm. Yihao heard another term. Master, you don't know? It is said that the upper realm is the place to ascend after breaking through to the martial god realm. But whether it exists or not, we don't know. A martial emperor said with a wry smile. Yes, yes. Yihao knew that the upper realm definitely existed, because from the beginning, he had found out from the system that the Myriad Kingdom continent was just a low-level plane. But what shocked him was that the upper realm could intervene in the affairs of the Myriad Kingdom continent. Whether it was true or not, he had to be careful. Yihao looked at the devouring beast. He increasingly felt that the devouring beast was very similar to the devouring demon god that his subordinates had mentioned. Why are you here? In the beginning, the devouring beast could not speak. Yihao had many things that he was curious about, but could not ask. Now, he hurriedly asked. Because there was plenty of time now, they had consumed more than half of their strength, and some had even suffered serious injuries. Now, they had to recover well. One had to know that there were close to 30 martial emperors outside. They were currently trapped inside the ancient mountain ruins. If they did not deal with the people outside, they would not be able to walk out of the ancient ruins. Yihao could only pray that after recuperating, the ancient ruins would be opened again and another batch of martial emperors would be able to enter. This time, they rested for nearly a month. After all, the injuries that could injure a martial emperor were not minor. After everyone had recovered, Yi Zichen waited for everyone to recover. You too start. Remember to act more realistically. For nearly a month, Yihao had been thinking of ways to lure the martial emperors outside in. In the end, he could only think of a way that was not a way. After all, he could not use the same trick again. If he still used ridicule, he would definitely be suspected. Put it down, Lord. Song He and He Gon nodded. At the same time, they took the blood that Yihao handed over and poured it all on their bodies. It was as if they had just climbed out of a blood pool. You must be careful. Yihao did not forget to remind them, because this was simply putting the two of them in danger. If anything happened to the two of them, they might be instantly killed as soon as they left the primordial ruins. Now, they could only rely on their luck. Otherwise, Yihao could not think of any other way. Rumble. Under the fiery gazes of the martial emperors outside, the ancient ruins finally opened after a month. Bang! When the ancient ruins opened to the size of a person, a black shadow suddenly flew out from inside. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a corpse. It was the corpse of the martial emperor that Zhang Fei had killed. At this moment, the injuries on his body were too horrible to look at. The martial emperors immediately went forward to check. Dead. There was actually such a fierce battle inside. What kind of treasure appeared? This martial emperor was a third-order martial emperor. In the outside world, his strength is not bad. Looking at the martial emperor's corpse covered in wounds, everyone turned pale with fright. You're really vicious. After obtaining the treasure, you still won't let me go. Suddenly, a person shot out from inside. It was the first-order martial emperor, Song He. Everyone be careful. Song He's appearance immediately raised everyone's vigilance. I will definitely kill you. At this time, He Gon also flew out. In his hand was a weapon that was still dripping blood. However, when he looked at everyone, his eyes were filled with vigilance. Chapter 292. Everyone, don't believe him. I didn't get any treasure. He Gon immediately denied it. We'll know whether you got any treasure or not. If you don't, we won't hurt you. The martial emperors looked at He Gon greedily when they heard that he had a weapon. You want to get the treasure? You're delusional. He Gon sneered and ran toward the ancient ruins. Not good, chase him. The martial emperors were fooled when they saw that He Gon was running away. They thought that He Gon had really gotten the treasure. It was the same this time. Only a dozen or so people were let in before the door to the ancient ruins was closed. How could this happen? The martial emperors asked Song He when they saw the door close again. I don't know either. When we first entered, the door to the primordial remnant instantly closed. Song He quickly shook his head. Tell us, what is it like inside? What happened inside? The old man narrowed his eyes and asked Song He. Song He immediately answered honestly. There were countless demonic beasts inside, but we didn't know why the guy who scolded us could control them. We attacked together. In the end, we killed all the demonic beasts. When Yi Hao died, a seven-colored object appeared on his body. At that moment, the martial emperors suddenly attacked and snatched it. In the end, me, that bastard, and him survived. However, who would have thought that he would attack us? He killed him first and then wanted to kill me. Fortunately, I was lucky and managed to escape. The martial emperors transmitted their thoughts to Song He. I don't think he's lying. What do you think? He shouldn't be lying. There are countless demonic beasts in the ancient ruins. Could it be that the treasure can control demonic beasts? After everyone finished discussing, the old man suddenly attacked. While Song He was not paying attention, he struck Song He with his palm. Puffed. What are you doing? Song He pretended to be exhausted. He was sent flying and crashed on the ground. He raised his head and asked with difficulty. He really is exhausted. He shouldn't be lying. The old man said slowly when he saw that the martial emperors were puzzled. The old man looked at Song He and said disdainfully, You should be grateful that I didn't kill you. Get lost. If you don't agree, come to the Bai Sheng dynasty and find me. What? He's from the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty. Many people looked fearful when they heard the old man's words. One must know that any power that could be called a sacred dynasty was a famous power in the Myriad Kingdom continent. That was definitely a superpower with a martial sage overseeing it. They might even have a legendary martial god overseeing it. Among these martial emperors, most of them were from their own factions. Their own factions were the strongest. Clearly, they could not compare to the Colossi. Oomph. When Song He heard about the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty, he didn't feel happy about it, but he didn't dare to argue. He looked terrified and quickly ran away. Although everyone was afraid of the old man's identity, this didn't mean that they would cower in the face of such a great opportunity. Your Highness, there's definitely a treasure appearing here. I won't have the time to take care of your Highness in a while. Please leave first, your Highness. The old man transmitted his voice to Bai Yi. Then please be careful, Elder Bai. Although Bai Yi was a spoiled brat, he knew what was more important and immediately left this troublesome place. Seeing Bai Yi leave, all the martial emperors resisted the urge to attack and let Bai Yi leave. When the martial emperors chased into the ancient ruins door suddenly closed. Attack! Yi Hao shouted, and all the subordinates started to attack. The martial emperors were in a state of confusion. They didn't understand how these people were still alive and why they were obeying Yi Hao's orders. Eat my spear. This time, because there were more people, Zhang Fei didn't have to deal with all of them. He directly pounced on a martial emperor and heavily injured him in an instant. He then placed the snake spear on the martial emperor's head and said, I want to live or die. The martial emperor was shocked. What kind of people were these? Did they have to be so strong? Before he could react, he was killed in one move. Even a peak martial emperor wasn't so strong. One had to know that he was a fifth-order martial emperor. He had once escaped from a peak martial emperor expert. When facing Zhang Fei, who was also a peak martial emperor, he didn't even have the chance to react before he was defeated. I want to live. Looking at the snake spear on his head that was emitting cold light, he couldn't muster up the courage to die. He knew how difficult it was to cultivate. It wasn't easy for him to reach this level. He didn't want to die. If he died and reincarnated, he didn't know if he would have the opportunity to become a martial emperor expert revered by millions. Therefore, he wanted to live. Eat it, Zhang Fei said as he tossed a mind control pill to him. At this time, Wu Song also defeated a martial emperor and forced him to eat the mind control pill. This time, the number of people on both sides was about the same. However, with Zhang Fei and Wu Song, they quickly defeated all 13 martial emperors. Fortunately, there was no one who would rather die than submit. They all obediently ate the mind control pill. At this time, on Yi Hao's side, including the devouring beast, Zhang Fei, and the others, there were a total of 24 martial emperors. If he counted himself, there would be 25 martial emperors. With so many martial emperors, they could compare to an imperial dynasty. After Yi Hao gained control of so many martial emperors at once, Xiao Qin's excited heart slowly calmed down. As long as he worked hard, not to mention so many martial emperors, he could even control martial gods. However, controlling martial emperors gave him a lot of benefits. However, the experience and revival points decreased significantly. After subduing so many martial emperors, he still did not level up. On the other hand, his revival points increased by nearly 6 million. He could now summon a peak Emperor Wu. Actually, the most dangerous thing was that he absolutely could not expose the mind control pill. Otherwise, the entire continent would fight over it. This was because the mind control pill was too heaven-defying. He did not even need to swear a martial oath, and he could control an expert who was also very loyal to him. Not only did it not have any side effects, but it could also strengthen the talent of the control person. It was also because the controlled person in the ancient ruins would not betray him. They would not let others know. This was why Yi Hao dared to use the mind control pill. If he was outside, there would be many people watching. Yi Hao would not be willing to use the mind control pill. If he accidentally leaked it, it would be a fatal blow to him. Back in the beast monster sect, Yi Hao did not think too much when he used the mind control pill. However, he also instructed Sun Ba to delete the memories of the disciples who saw the mind control pill. At this moment, Yi Hao was in a dilemma. Apart from the old man and Bai Yi, whom he had to kill, the other martial emperors did not have any deep grudges with him. If he could subdue them, Yi Hao naturally wanted to do so. Although the EXP was a little low, it would definitely play a role in the development of his forces. Chapter 293. Let's wait and see. If I can lure one in, I'll do it. Yi Hao made up his mind. If he recruited one more martial emperor, his forces would be strengthened. Yi Hao was reluctant to give up this opportunity. This time, no one was seriously injured, so they recovered faster than last time. In less than 10 days, everyone had recovered to their peak strength. Under Yi Hao's command, the Devourer Beast opened the primordial relic again. The people outside saw the primordial relic open, but no one came out this time. The primordial relic was full of unknown dangers, but they were also very curious. Did everyone inside die? The martial emperors waited for a day and a night, but no one came out of the primordial relic. Similarly, no one dared to go in, because those who went in were destined to be attacked by the martial emperors outside, even if they obtained treasures. Therefore, none of them dared to act rashly. You guys go in and take a look. There were also some rogue cultivators who were reluctant to leave. They wanted to rely on their luck to fight for an opportunity. The old man used his martial path power to bind the 3 Emperor Wu's realms and said to them, "Yes." The 3 Emperor Wu were afraid and happy at the same time. With these martial emperors around, they did not dare to go near the primordial relic. They could only watch from afar. Even if they saw the door to the primordial relic open again, they would be very envious. After all, there were many opportunities inside, and they might be able to soar to the sky. After receiving the old man's order, the 3 quickly took out their weapons and walked into the primordial relic cautiously. Finally, someone came in. Yi Hao waited for a day and a night, and his patience was almost exhausted. He was ready to give up and kill his way out. Suddenly, 3 people walked in one after another. However, when Yi Hao saw their cultivation, he was a little unhappy. He was a little reluctant to waste the mind control pill. Now that he controlled so many martial emperors, he finally knew the value of the mind control pill. I'm kneeling. The 3 Emperor Wu walked into the primordial relic excitedly. In the end, they saw dozens of pairs of eyes looking at them. The 3 of them could not stand the strong pressure and directly knelt on the ground. Why am I here when I woke up? Lords, we were forced to do this. Please spare our lives. Young master, I can tell with a single glance that you are handsome and elegant. Please let us go." Instantly, the auras of more than 20 martial emperors. The 3 martial emperors knelt at Yi Hao's feet and begged for mercy with tears and snot. Yi Hao really wanted to slap the 3 of them to death. Forget it, even a fly's leg is meat. Yi Hao reluctantly took out 3 mind-controlling pills. "Eat them, and I'll spare your lives." The 3 martial emperors did not dare to disobey the stern-looking young man in front of them. Furthermore, they were the weakest among them. They immediately swallowed the mind-controlling pill as Yi Hao had instructed. "Attack with me." The dragon roared and flew out of the ancient ruins. "Follow the Lord to kill the enemy." Zhang Fei took out his weapon and shouted. Then he flew out with Yi Hao. "You didn't die? How is that possible?" The dragon hovered at the entrance of the ancient ruins. It was emitting dragon power. The old man looked at Yi Hao, who was standing on the dragon's back with a weapon. He couldn't believe it. "Old man, how could I die if you didn't die?" Yi Hao looked at the old man. His eyes were full of killing intent. If he didn't enter the ancient ruins, he would have died in the hands of this old man. He swore to take revenge. "Young emperor, you're just a piece of trash. What right do you have to call yourself an emperor in front of us?" One of the martial emperors sneered when he heard how Yi Hao addressed him. "That's not right. How did he reach the level of Emperor Wu?" The martial emperor looked at Yi Hao's cultivation and his expression changed. Everyone checked Yi Hao's cultivation. They found that Yi Hao had indeed reached the level of Emperor Wu from the martial spirit realm. "Boy, tell us, what treasure did you get that allowed you to break through so quickly?" A first-order martial emperor asked immediately. Noisy. Yi Hao raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't get angry, but at the same time, he used the black dragon dash. "You dare to attack me? You must be tired of living." The other martial emperors didn't think much of Yi Hao's attack. Although Yi Hao had reached the level of Emperor Wu, he was still a piece of trash in their eyes. It was simply wishful thinking for a martial emperor to want to attack a martial emperor. The martial emperor who was attacked didn't care about Yi Hao's attack. All the martial emperors looked at Yi Hao with disdain. They were like cats playing with a mouse. They wanted to play with Yi Hao in the palm of their hand. They weren't in a hurry to kill Yi Hao. What kind of look is that? The martial emperor who was attacked saw the pity and mockery in Yi Hao's eyes. He couldn't help but panic. "Kill him," Yi Hao suddenly shouted. The black dragon that was less than a meter long suddenly grew bigger. It became more than 10 meters long and crashed into the martial emperor's body. Pong! The first-order martial emperor didn't even have the chance to react. He was turned into ashes by the black dragon dash. Ding dong! Congratulations on killing a first-order martial emperor. Congratulations to the host for gaining 1 million experience points. Congratulations to the host for gaining 500,000 soul points. It seems that killing people gives a lot of experience points. It's 10 times the experience points. Even the soul points are 5 times more. Yi Hao came to a conclusion when he heard the notification in his mind. This was the second martial emperor who died in his hands, including the one killed by Zhang Fei. There were a total of 3 martial emperors. Combining the experience points and soul points of the 3, Yi Hao knew the difference between subduing and killing a martial artist. At this time, the remaining martial emperors, the experts hidden in the surroundings, and the crowd of onlookers. Obviously, they still couldn't react to what had happened. This was a martial emperor. He was killed in an instant. Most importantly, this person was the Emperor Wu that everyone looked down on. At this time, everyone felt their faces burning. It was as if they had been slapped by Yi Hao. How did this kid do it? This is too heaven-defying. Is he really just Emperor Wu? How can he be so powerful? He actually killed a martial emperor in an instant. Nonsense. Didn't you hear what those martial emperors said? This kid is definitely Emperor Wu. There's no doubt about it. But this is too powerful. Everyone knows that the gap between realms is huge. This is a gap of a whole realm. Chapter 294. Don't worry too much. There's something strange about this kid. Let's take it down first. The old man suddenly felt ill at ease. He glanced at Yi Hao, then at the ancient ruins with its stone door wide open. The old man immediately spoke. "Let's do as Elderby says." The martial emperors were displeased to see Yi Hao daring enough to kill a martial emperor in front of them. "Die, kid." The martial emperors immediately joined forces and attacked Yi Hao. "You want to see who has more people?" Yi Hao raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile. "Yes, we have more people. What can you do?" Before he could finish his sentence, several people walked out of the ancient ruins one after another. "Whoever dares to hurt my master will have to go through me, Zhang Fei. Whoever dares to hurt my master will have to go through me, Wu Song. Whoever dares to hurt my master." Before the martial emperors could attack Yi Hao, a group of Yi Hao's subordinates immediately stood in front of Yi Hao. "Who are you people? Is he your master?" The old man asked warily. He was a seventh-order martial emperor, which was enough for him to stand proudly above the martial emperors. After all, he was a member of the Saint dynasty. How could these wandering martial emperors compare to him? However, when Zhang Fei and Wu Song appeared, he immediately panicked. The two's auras were not weaker than his. In fact, they were much stronger. "I'm from the Saint dynasty. May I know who this young master is?" When he saw more than 20 martial emperors standing in front of Yi Hao, and Yi Hao's mount was a giant dragon, he began to lower his guard and ask. However, he was still worried. He held a transportation talisman in his hand. If something went wrong, he would escape immediately. The Saint dynasty is nothing. Kill them. Yi Hao curled his lips disdainfully and ordered his subordinates. The old man was obviously choked by Yi Hao's words. The Bishing sacred dynasty was their trump card. As long as they revealed their name, no one would dare to act recklessly. However, Yi Hao's attitude made him very unhappy. Since they had already shed all pretenses, the old man no longer continued to pretend. "Everyone, I do not know what evil means this brat used to make these martial emperors listen to his orders. If we don't join hands, it seems like we won't be able to leave this place today. At the same time, we must kill this evil bastard." The old man spoke with a strong sense of righteousness, causing the martial emperors to repeatedly nod their heads. Hearing the old man's impassioned speech, Yi Hao said disdainfully, "No matter what you say, it can't compare to the evil in your heart." Yi Hao clearly knew that all the martial emperors before him were people who placed benefits above all else. Otherwise, they would not have waited here for him for so long. "Earth-devouring palm. Oolong Chuang. Zhang Fei, come with me and take down this old thing." Yi Hao suddenly attacked and shouted at Zhang Fei at the same time. The battle was on the verge of breaking out. Dozens of martial emperors instantly engaged in a chaotic battle. Martial skills that filled the sky kept on clashing with each other, creating earth-shattering explosions. This was a battle between martial emperors. Even Emperor Wu did not dare to get close. He could only watch from afar. "Brat, you are still too inexperienced." The old man dodged Zhang Fei's attack and sneakily attacked Yi Hao. Bang! The old man immediately used a martial skill and shattered Yi Hao's weapon. At the same time, he attacked Yi Hao. He wanted to kill Yi Hao first. "Don't you dare hurt my master!" Zhang Fei shouted angrily. The snake spear in his hand unleashed a shockwave and shattered the old man's attack. "The difference between us is still too big." Knowing the difference between him and the old man, Yi Hao did not dare to attack rashly. He left the battlefield to the old man and Zhang Fei. Meanwhile, he kept on attacking. "Brat, you are too cunning." The old man could not help but curse. He was not Zhang Fei's match to begin with. When he fought against Zhang Fei, he had to give it his all. In the end, Yi Hao kept on using martial skills on him when he was not paying attention. It affected him greatly. In a short while, Zhang Fei stabbed several bloody holes into his body. "Strange, where's Bai Yi?" Yi Hao continued to attack as he scanned the surroundings. However, he did not find Bai Yi's figure. Otherwise, he would definitely kill Bai Yi with his own hands. "Beast devouring art." Suddenly, the devouring beast roared. An unparalleled suction force appeared from the devouring beast's palm and firmly sucked in a third-order martial emperor expert. Damn it, why is it like this? The third-order martial emperor expert wanted to struggle. However, the more he struggled, the more chaotic the energy in his body became. Moreover, it was getting more and more out of his control. Turn into my strength, the devouring beast said shakily. No. The third-order martial emperor expert felt the energy in his body, as well as his spiritual force and blood essence, being rapidly sucked out of his body. He immediately panicked and screamed. What a powerful martial skill. It is similar to the star-sucking great skill in novels. Yi Hao noticed the devouring beast's actions. He originally thought that the devouring beast would need to devour corpses to increase his cultivation. However, it seemed that there was no need for that. This devouring beast art had the same effect through different means. Could it be that the devouring beast is related to the devouring archdevil? Yi Hao was suspicious. Otherwise, the devouring beast was too heaven-defying. It actually had its own martial skill. Fortunately, it was his demonic beast. If it was someone else's demonic beast, he would have killed it immediately. It was a huge threat. In a secret territory of the Myriad Kingdom continent, a wooden old man suddenly opened his eyes. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. The devouring archdevil's aura. How was it possible? Wasn't he killed? The old man did not have any aura. He was like an ordinary old man. However, he was a martial god expert in the Myriad Kingdom continent. First, it was the innate, sacred, martial spirit body. Then, it was the birth of a divine artifact. Now, there is the devouring archdevil. This Myriad Kingdom continent is not going to be peaceful. The old man muttered. Because the devouring archdevil was too powerful, he could never forget the devouring archdevil's aura. Therefore, he could sense the devouring archdevil's aura. However, he could not determine the exact location of the devouring archdevil. No matter what, I must not let the devouring archdevil grow. The old man made up his mind and immediately took out a bronze mirror. Immediately, 3 heads appeared in the bronze mirror. Eastern Shah, you have sensed it too. Eastern Shah, the Myriad Kingdom continent is not going to be peaceful. Eastern Shah, you old man. I thought you had passed away. The 4 of them were the famous 4 demons. Each of them was a peak martial god. They occupied the top regions of the Myriad Kingdom continent and were basically invincible. The 4 demons belonged to an alliance. They were formed by the 4 demons of the north, south, east, and west. As for why they were called that, no one knew. Over the years, even they only remembered the titles of the 4 demons. Each of them had forgotten their own names. They had not seen each other for a long time. As soon as they met, they quarreled endlessly. East Fiend God suddenly took out a token. When the other 3 saw this token, they instantly quietened down. The 4 demons' alliance leader token. Chapter 295. The leader of the 4 Fiends Alliance changed once every 1,000 years, and the Alliance leader token only rotated among the 4 Fiends. Of course, once the Alliance Master token is released, it will definitely set off a bloody storm in the Myriad Kingdom continent. The rest of the God-rank forces in the Myriad Kingdom continent had to avoid their sharpness. That was because the 4 Fiends were an alliance of 4 peak powers. Once the Alliance Head Command was issued, the resources of the 4 peak powers would be unconditionally used. Pass down my orders. Mobilize all forces of the 4 divine nations to search for the devouring demon god's aura. We'd rather kill the wrong person than let him go. If he's found, kill him immediately. Yes, Alliance Master. The 4 of them replied respectfully. Western Fiend God, contact the other divine nations and tell them that if they don't want the same thing to happen again, they'd better help us with all their might. Western Shah receives the decree. Yi Hao didn't know that he had attracted the attention of the 4 divine nations because of the Devourer Beast. He was now in danger. Little bastard, you could be arrogant, but my Baisheng Holy Empire will not let you go. The old man was attacked by Yi Hao again, and at the same time, he had to dodge Zhang Fei's attacks. He He knew that if he continued to waste time here, he would die here, so he immediately activated the transmission talisman that he had been holding in his hand. Little bastard, just you wait. I'll raise the 1,000 beasts sect to the ground. Seeing the words on Yi Hao's clothes, the old man's eyes flashed with viciousness. Zhang Fei, stop him. Yi Hao panicked. He had actually overlooked this. He would never have guessed that the old man would have a teleportation talisman. Boom! Zhang Fei attacked the teleportation talisman fiercely. Ha ha! The teleportation talisman has been activated. You guys actually want to interrupt it? Seeing Zhang Fei's frenzied attacks, the old man sneered. You lowly trash. Just wait for the wrath of my sacred dynasty. The old man had just finished his sentence when he teleported away. Master, your subordinate is useless. Seeing the old man escape, Zhang Fei felt a little vexed. This is not your fault. You had it not look good. He did not expect the old man to have a backup plan. Most importantly, the old man's background turned out to be a holy dynasty. Yi Hao looked at the people who were fighting and said with a hint of annoyance, kill them all. Leave no one alive. He needed enough soul points and resurrection points. Only by summoning a martial saint could he fight against a sacred dynasty. Zhang Fei was extremely vexed that the old man managed to escape. As for the remaining martial emperors, they naturally became the targets for him to vent his anger on. Die. Zhang Fei flew towards a martial emperor. With a light flick of the serpent spear in his hand, the martial emperor's head exploded. After the battle ended, Yi Hao checked the experience and soul points he had obtained. He had gained more than 40 million experience points and could probably level up again. His soul points had also increased to more than 27 million. If this had happened a moment ago, Yi Hao would have jumped up in excitement. However, at this moment, his expression was extremely solemn. That was because 27 million soul points were still too little. He was still 23 million soul points away from summoning a martial saint expert. Since the old man had said that he wanted to raise the 1,000 beasts sect to the ground, it meant that the Bishing Holy Dynasty would attack the 1,000 beast sect sooner or later. He had to be prepared. Yi Hao looked at the experts hiding in the dark and the rogue cultivators who wanted to take advantage of the situation. All of them were greedily waiting for an opportunity. Yi Hao transmitted his voice to his subordinates. More than 20 martial emperors immediately joined forces to create a barrier to seal the space. What is the meaning of this? Are you trying to silence us by killing us? Let us out quickly. Everyone panicked when they were suddenly sealed in the barrier. They did not expect Yi Hao to suddenly attack. Since I have not killed you, I am giving you a chance. Those who swear an oath will be used by me. Otherwise, I will kill you without mercy, Yi Hao said as he looked at the thousands of people who were sealed in the barrier. You want me to swear an oath? Wishful thinking. A martial emperor said disdainfully. Kill. Yi Hao spat out a word. More than 20 martial emperors suddenly attacked him at the same time and instantly turned into nothingness. Everyone did not expect this to happen. Yi Hao did not give them a chance and immediately attacked. You are a demon. You will suffer retribution. A rogue cultivator pointed at Yi Hao's nose and scolded. Kill. Yi Hao's face was cold as he only said one word. At this critical moment, he had no choice but to do so. There were thousands of martial artists here. If he used the mind-controlling pill to control them, not only would he be exposed, but more importantly, there are not enough mind-controlling pills. Swear or not, I will give you 10 breaths to think about it. If you want to live, kneel on the ground. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless, Yi Hao said again as he looked at the people who were still hesitating. 10, 9. Yi Hao's cold and emotionless voice was like the bell of the Grim Reaper. It kept striking at everyone's hearts. Everyone felt that they were living in torment every moment. Of course, they could only blame themselves for being too greedy. If they were not greedy, they would not have been hiding here. Instead, they would have been captured by Yi Hao. Today, they had killed more than 20 martial emperors. If the news spread, they would definitely become the target of public criticism. After all, no one was willing to see someone grow rapidly and threaten their status. Since Yi Hao was able to kill more than 20 martial emperors, he would definitely attract some attention. In order to strengthen their own interests, they would definitely make a move against Yi Hao. Although the news would leak if they surrounded everyone here, it would at least give them some time to develop. In the end, more than half of the people still swore. However, there was still a small number of people who would rather die than submit. Looking at the people who would rather die than submit, their eyes filled with intense hatred. Yi Hao spat out the word kill. I'm an emperor. I have no choice. Yi Hao's voice reached everyone's ears. This was because the stronger a person was, the heavier the burden on their shoulders would be. If they were merciful and let these people go, these people might not let them go. Instead, they would have to bear the brunt of the disaster. A rain of blood, 100 flowers withered. This was the first time Yi Hao took the initiative to make a move against these innocent people for his own interests. However, in the future, such things would definitely happen frequently. This was because a merciful person would not be able to gain a foothold in the Myriad Kingdom continent, much less become a qualified emperor. Only a decisive person could break the chaotic situation of the Myriad Kingdom continent and become the ruler of the Myriad Kingdom continent. Clean up the battlefield. Yi Hao instructed the martial emperors. My lord, look who I caught. At this moment, Song He flew back with a smile. He was holding a person in his hand. Bai Yi. Yi Hao looked at Bai Yi in Song He's hand. He did not expect such a coincidence. Bai had already escaped, but was still caught. Quickly let go of me. Do you know who I am? Bai Yi, who was caught in Song He's hand, still had the aura of a profligate son as he shouted loudly. Kneel down. Song He kicked Bai Yi's knee. You actually want me to kneel? I will have my imperial father exterminate your entire clan. Bai Yi was not afraid of anyone other than his imperial father. This was because as long as he exposed his background, even a martial sage would have to curry favor with him. Elder Bai, quickly come and save me. Bai Yi still did not know that Elder Bai had escaped and shouted loudly. Chapter 296. Shut up. If you keep talking, I'll cut your tongue off. Yi Hao kicked Bai Yi's crotch. Bai Yi bent over in pleasure, his legs clamped around his crotch. His expression was one of disbelief. You hit me. How dare you hit me? Is there something wrong with this guy's head? Yi Hao and Song He exchanged glances, then looked at Bai Yi awkwardly. Sob, someone actually dared to hit me. I don't want to live anymore. Bai Yi suddenly started crying and actually started rolling on the ground. Master, is there something wrong with this guy? Seeing Bai Yi crying, throwing a tantrum, and threatening to hang himself, this was not how a prince of the sacred dynasty should behave. Yi Hao narrowed his eyes at Bai Yi. Although this Bai Yi was a spoiled brat, he could not possibly be retarded. Yi Hao suddenly noticed Bai Yi's little trick. His eyes flashed, and he immediately took out his blood-stained dual sabers and slashed at Bai Yi's right hand. Yi Hao raised his sabers and picked up the severed hand. As expected, there was a transportation talisman in his hand, but he did not have the time to use it. How could the master not have something that even a servant had? This Bai Yi's acting was a little too much. Otherwise, Yi Hao might not have noticed. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to destroy your entire family. Bai Yi did not expect his little trick to be discovered by Yi Hao, and one of his hands was chopped off. He shouted in pain. You better take care of yourself first. Your life is in my hands now, Yi Hao said mockingly. Just kill me. I won't say anything. Bai Yi looked at Yi Hao viciously and said fearlessly, Kill him. Bai Yi's fearless face instantly fell. Normally, shouldn't Yi Hao threaten him, and then he would answer honestly? Why did this Yi Hao not play by the rules and kill him just like that? Don't you want to know anything from me? Seeing that Song He's palm was about to land on his head. He had not lived long enough, and he immediately shouted in fear. How despicable! Yi Hao was so angry that he almost laughed. Tell me, what's your name? What's your background? Yi Hao looked at Bai Yi and asked, My name is Bai Yi. I'm a prince of the Bai Shang Holy Dynasty. I advise you to be honest. Let me go, and I won't pursue this matter with you. Bai Yi threatened Yi Hao after revealing his identity. Bai Shang Holy Dynasty. Yi Hao read the name and added it to his blacklist. Bai Yi looked at Yi Hao and held his broken arm. Are you scared? The Saint Dynasty isn't something you can mess with. Let me go. I'm not scared of you. Yi Hao really didn't understand what was in Bai Yi's head. Could it be shit? He was already at death's door, yet he was still courting death. Yi Hao kicked Bai Yi in the mouth. No, how dare you kick me? No, just you wait. Bai Yi's eyes were filled with hatred as he spoke vaguely. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you right now. Do you believe me? Bai Yi shrunk his neck when he heard Yi Hao's words. In his heart, he was already prepared. As long as he was given a chance to live, he would definitely tear Yi Hao into pieces. But he didn't understand where Elder Bai had run off to. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have gone back to his country. He wouldn't have fallen into Yi Hao's hands. Tell me, what's the strongest person in the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty? Yi Hao asked the question he was most concerned about. Second order martial god. Bai Yi answered immediately. Beat him if he doesn't tell the truth. Yi Hao ordered Song He. Woo-woo, it's really second order martial god. I'm not lying. Bai Yi hugged his head and whined. All right, next question. How many martial gods are there? Yi Hao scratched his head and continued asking. I'm not lying. Why did you hit me? Bai Yi raised his pig-like head and looked at Yi Hao with a wronged expression. He had to know if Bai Yi was telling the truth or not. He just wanted to know if Bai Yi was telling the truth. He couldn't possibly tell Bai Yi that. You still dare to talk nonsense. Yi Hao glared at Bai Yi. There's only one martial god, old ancestor. Bai Yi shrank back in fear, afraid that Yi Hao would hit him again. This was troublesome. Although he was only a martial god, there was no doubt that it gave him a lot of pressure. Not to mention a martial god, Yi Hao probably couldn't even deal with a martial saint. Yi Hao asked Bai Yi some more questions and threw him into the dragon prison lake and locked him up. Peak Master Yuan. Yi Hao returned to the Thousand Beasts sect and saw Yuan Guopeng sitting down. My lord, you can just call me by my name. Yuan Guopeng said respectfully when he saw that Yi Hao was fine and had returned safely to the sect. I have something to tell you. Yi Hao told him about the Bai Sheng holy sect that might come looking for trouble. What? Yuan Guopeng was shocked. My lord, why haven't you left yet? Seeing that Yuan Guopeng was so concerned about him, Yi Hao was relieved. I plan to move the Thousand Beasts sect into the primordial ruins first. What do you think? Move into the primordial ruins? But can we go in? Yuan Guopeng asked worriedly. Go and call all the peak masters here. Yi Hao didn't answer and said to Yuan Guopeng instead. I'm worried that they won't agree. Yuan Guopeng didn't look too good. He was afraid that those peak masters wouldn't listen to Yi Hao and hand Yi Hao over. That would be troublesome. Go and call them over first. I think they will agree, Yi Hao said softly. What a joke. All the peak masters and most of the important elders were already his people. Who would dare to disagree? I'll give a try then. Yuan Guopeng nodded, although he was still worried. I say, Peak Master Yuan, what's the matter? Can't you just say it? That's right. I still have to guide my disciples in refining pills. Could it be that Peak Master Yuan found some incredible treasure in the primordial ruins? A group of people rushed into Yuan Guopeng's hall noisily. But after entering the hall, everyone quieted down instantly. The reason for the silence was the young man who was sleeping at the top of the hall. Take a look, Peak Master. This Yi Hao is way too arrogant. All of you peak masters have arrived, yet he dares to sit on the main seat and even dare to sleep. A small elder who was jealous of Yi Hao instigated in front of the beast peak master. When Yuan Guopeng saw that Yi Hao had fallen asleep, he was also a little anxious. He didn't care about this. Yi Hao could sleep anywhere. But this wasn't the right time. He had something important to discuss with the peak masters. Whether the peak masters would agree or not was another matter. Now that Yi Hao had fallen asleep, it would undoubtedly be troublesome if the peak masters caught him. When he heard the words of the small elder, he already knew that the beast peak master would definitely use this as a pretext to make a fuss and mock him and Yi Hao. Chapter 297. It's none of your business whether he sleeps or not. Do you see how tired Elder Xia is? I think you should quit being an elder. Scram, Beast Peak Master said in a hushed voice. What a joke. Who is Yi Hao? He was his lord. How would he dare to interfere when his lord was sleeping? The young elder was clearly confused. Why was the Peak Master speaking up for an outsider today? The young elder wanted to say something, but seeing that the Peak Master was about to explode, he immediately ran out. Be quiet. The Peak Master's voice came from behind. The young elder staggered and almost fell to the ground. What's going on? Yuan Guopeng looked at the Beast Peak Master strangely. Could it be that the Beast Peak Master was triggered when I wasn't in the sect? But Yuan Guopeng couldn't care less. Just because the Beast Peak Master didn't mind, it didn't mean that the other Peak Masters didn't mind. Yuan Guopeng was about to wake Yihao up. But before he could say anything, his mouth was covered by a pair of withered hands. Yuan Guopeng turned around and saw that it was the Peak Master of Medicine Peak. Show Elder Xia is tired. Let him sleep for a while. The Peak Master of Medicine Peak shushed him and said softly, "What the hell is going on?" Yuan Guopeng looked at the abnormal behavior of these Peak Masters. Were these still the elders that he knew? Could it be that he was harboring some evil ideas in his heart? Or were these people working together to deal with him when he wasn't around? Yuan Guopeng looked at the Peak Masters suspiciously. But judging from their expressions, it didn't seem like it. Not only Yuan Guopeng, but some of the unimportant elders were also confused at this time. What's going on? What's the background of this Xia Hao? To think that he could make all the Peak Masters act like a different person. Elder Xia is still young. Don't catch a cold. A Grand Elder immediately took out a coat and covered Yihao. Yihao's sleep lasted for a day and a night. Many of the elders were getting impatient, but the Peak leaders did not show any sign of complaint. Are these people possessed? Yuan Guopeng had been worried that these Peak Masters would suddenly go berserk. But these Peak Masters didn't do anything out of line, which made him even more curious. Yes, Yihao stretched. He had not closed his eyes for the past few days. He was so tired that he accidentally fell asleep. Did Elder Xia sleep well? The Medicine Peak's first elder asked with a smile on his face. Elder Xia, if you did not sleep well, you can sleep a little longer. We have plenty of time. The Medicine Peak Master said with a face full of smiles. Didn't you say yesterday that you wanted to know how to cultivate your disciples? Yuan Guopeng was beginning to suspect that this person from Medicine Peak had taken the wrong medicine. However, what happened next threw him into chaos. All the important elders of the Thousand Beasts sect, including a few Peak Masters, rushed to express their concern for Yihao. A group of elders who didn't have any status gathered together. They looked at the scene in front of them and discussed in low voices. What's wrong with the Peak Lord? I've never seen him so concerned about anyone before. That's nothing. I've never seen the great elder smile. Look at him now. Why do I feel like they're trying to curry favor with Elder Xia? Are you guys afraid that others don't know that I'm your lord? Yihao thought helplessly in his heart as he looked at these people scrambling to curry favor with him. Cough, cough, I have something to say. Looking at the chaotic scene, Yihao coughed lightly and said, Please speak, Elder Xia. Everyone showed an attitude of obedience. I plan to move the Thousand Beasts sect temporarily. Yihao had just finished speaking when all the Peak Masters flew out immediately. It's over. Seeing the Peak Masters leave in a hurry, Yuan Guopeng thought that they had left in anger. My lord, I told you they wouldn't listen. Yuan Guopeng's face turned bitter when he saw that there was no one in the main hall. However, before he could finish his sentence, the Peak Masters and elders returned one after another. Are they looking for trouble? Yuan Guopeng immediately raised his guard. Elder Xia, I've had enough of this place. Where do you think we should move to? Elder Xia has an extraordinary bearing. The new location you found will definitely be better than this. Elder Xia, our peak is ready. Shall we move now? The Peak Masters scrambled to be the first to speak. Their clothes were filled with anxiety. Do they really take the wrong medicine? Are they still the group of people I know? Looking at the faces of the crowd, Yuan Guopeng felt as if the whole world had changed. In truth, Yuan Guopeng didn't know if the Peak Masters had really taken the wrong medicine or if only Yihao had the mind-controlling pill. However, he was kept in the dark and didn't know until now. He was still thinking about how to negotiate with these old fogies. Anyway, it wouldn't be easy. There might even be a fight. However, he didn't expect this matter to be resolved so easily. There was no discussion at all. He swallowed all the words he had prepared. Take everything from the Thousand Beasts sect. Don't leave anything valuable behind. Reporting, Peak Masters. There's an expert outside who wants to slaughter the Thousand Beasts sect. As soon as Yi Hao finished speaking, a disciple ran in a panic. Who is it? Yi Hao asked immediately. He didn't expect the Bai Shang Holy Sect to be so fast. It's the people from the Bai Shang Holy Sect. They've already killed their way to the outer sect. The disciple said anxiously. What? Yi Hao's expression changed. His two brothers, Yi Qing and Wu Hei, were still in the outer sect. Wouldn't that mean that they were in danger? Asked the person in charge to come out. A majestic voice suddenly came from the sky. When Yi Hao heard this voice, he felt helpless. He immediately shook his head and said, This martial sage is too powerful. Little B asterisk starred. I said I'll be back. Get out here now. Elder Bai's arrogant voice was heard. Elder Bai had just returned to the Bai Shang Holy Sect. He went to the emperor and described Yi Hao as a treacherous person. He even dared to insult the Bai Shang Holy Sect. Most importantly, Yi Hao had a space treasure and was suspected to have obtained the inheritance of an ancient relic. He had tempted a martial Grand Emperor expert to help him injure him. Elder Bai added some oil to the fire. Since the emperor of the Bai Shang Holy Sect was furious and Yi Hao's treasures had tempted the emperor immediately sent a second-level martial sage to destroy the Thousand Beasts sect. Damn it! Yi Hao cursed and was about to rush out. He could only blame himself for being careless and leaving all the martial Grand Emperors in the ancient relic. There was no one around him that he could use. However, he couldn't let Yi Qing and the rest get hurt. He couldn't let the Thousand Beasts sect be destroyed because of him. Master, no, it's dangerous. Yuan Guopeng couldn't care less and immediately grabbed Yi Hao. Chapter 298. Little B asterisk starred. As long as you don't come out, I'll keep killing. Let's see if you'll come out. Little B asterisk starred. Let's see how long you can hide. I'm going to raise this Thousand Beasts sect to the ground. Outside, the old man's vicious yelling could be heard. Stop talking. Follow me out to kill the enemy. Yi Hao was furious, and his body was filled with hatred. My lord, what we need to do now is to protect the talented disciples. The enemy is a martial sage, and we can't defeat them. Yuan Guopeng's words instantly calmed Yi Hao down. What happened to him just now? He would never be so agitated normally. You guys go and organize the disciples to retreat. I'll go and hold them back. Yi Hao immediately instructed Yuan Guopeng and the rest. My lord, this is an order. It'll be too late if we delay any longer. After Yi Hao finished speaking, he flew out first. Quick, organize the disciples to retreat through the secret passage at the back of the mountain. Retreat to the ancient ruins. Yuan Guopeng immediately shouted. Ha! I thought you were a coward and didn't dare to come out. When the old man saw Yi Hao flying in the air, he looked at Yi Hao mockingly. It's him, a middle-aged man behind the old man whose aura couldn't be seen looked at Yi Hao and asked, Saint King Bai Wu, it's this lad. The middle-aged man beside the old man was the martial sage expert that he had invited. The old man replied respectfully, All right, lad, you could die now. After getting the answer from the old man, Bai Wu immediately sentenced Yi Hao to death. He really didn't understand. The current emperor was really useless. He had to deal with a small fry like this. Wasn't he wasting his time for nothing? Saint King, please go easy on him. I still want to torture this lad. After the old man finished speaking, he saw Bai Wu and was happy. Saint King, other than what His Majesty wants, the rest belongs to you. Then I'll leave him half alive. After saying that, Bai Wu was about to attack. Open your dog eyes and take a look. Who is this person? Seeing that Bai Wu was about to attack, Yi Hao immediately grabbed Bai Yi. Ancestor, Elder Bai, save me. Bai looked around and saw Bai Wu and Elder Bai. He immediately cried for help happily. Your Highness. Bai Wu and Elder Bai were shocked. They didn't understand why Bai Yi was in Yi Hao's hands. One had to know that Bai Yi was the prince of the Bai Shang Holy Empire. He was an existence that had the chance to become the emperor. If he died in front of their eyes, they would not be able to absolve themselves from the blame. You dog of a slave, why didn't you report the truth? His Highness has been captured. How dare you hide such a big matter? Bai Wu looked at Elder Bai, his body emitting killing intent. Elder Bai's expression changed again and again. He immediately knelt on the ground. Holy King, I really didn't know about this. I was afraid that your Highness would be in danger, so asked your Highness to leave first, Elder Bai hurriedly explained. He was afraid that he would be killed by Bai Wu if he couldn't explain clearly. Dog slave, I'll deal with you when we get back. Bai Wu kicked Elder Bai's body. Elder Bai immediately rolled to the side and didn't dare to complain. Let his Highness go, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Bai Wu looked at Yi Hao. He didn't care about Yi Hao at all. What if I don't let him go? Yi Hao asked back. At the same time, he took out his bloody-stained dual blades and placed them on Bai Yi's neck. Little B asterisk starred. How dare you? Seeing Yi Hao taking out his weapon, Bai Wu scolded angrily. See if I dare or not. As he spoke, the bloody-stained dual blades in Yi Hao's hands had already sunk into Bai Yi's neck. Ancestor, save me. Feeling the burning sensation on his neck, Bai Yi immediately panicked. He quickly begged Bai Wu for help. Holy King, you have to save his Highness. Elder Bai immediately knelt at Bai Wu's feet and advised. Bai Wu squinted his eyes and looked at Yi Hao. His body emitted a monstrous killing intent. He hadn't been threatened for a long time. Today, he was actually threatened by a piece of trash. This made him very unhappy. If he seized the opportunity, he would definitely let this be asterisk star know how serious the consequences of threatening him were. Holy King, His Highness is His Majesty's most beloved son. You have to save him. Elder Bai was afraid that Bai Wu would be angered and attack Yi Hao in a fit of anger. If anything happened to His Highness, he would definitely not be able to bear the responsibility. Boy, tell me your conditions. Bai Wu frowned and asked unhappily. You killed so many disciples of the Wanshou sect. How should we settle this score? On the way here, Yi Hao saw that the outer gate was already littered with corpses. However, he didn't have time to look for I Ching and Wu Hei. He still didn't know how they were doing. There was also that group of underlings who followed behind him and called him boss. Most of them might have already been killed. However, Yi Hao still had a glimmer of hope that I Ching and Wu Hei were still alive. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have let I Ching and Wu Hei out. When he had just returned to the Wanshou sect, I Ching had been complaining that she missed her underlings. Yi Hao had then left them in the outer gate. Who would have thought that something would happen so quickly? They are just a bunch of trash. What do you want to do? Bai Wu said disdainfully when he heard Yi Hao's words. It was as if the lives of these disciples were not even comparable to ants in his eyes. He could kill them if he wanted to. Trash! Ha ha! Yi Hao suddenly moved his arm quickly and chopped off one of Bai Yi's arms. Although it was the arm that had been chopped off, the intense pain completely filled his mind. Ah, I told you not to move. When Bai Wu saw Yi Hao make a move, he quickly wanted to attack Yi Hao and save Bai Yi. However, he was still one step too late. Boy, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? You are courting death. Bai Wu gritted his teeth in anger at Yi Hao's provocation. However, Bai Yi was a prince and his descendant. He had no choice but to save him. How about it? Aren't you also trash? You also don't dare to attack me? I think you're the real trash. Yi Hao sneered at Bai Wu. If you're not trash, why don't you attack me? Trash! Take that old thing and get lost. Yi Hao shouted coldly. You better remember this. I will crush you. Bai Wu warned Yi Hao. He gritted his teeth so hard that they made cracking sounds. Through this exchange, Yi Hao had already seen Bai Yi's importance. Bai Wu was already seething with anger, but he could still hold himself back from attacking. Holy King, don't let this boy go. Save His Highness first. Elder Bai said worriedly. Old ancestor, save me. Bai Yi also begged for help. Let him go, and I will let you go. Bai Wu was already upset and said in a heavy voice. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and attack. Chapter 299. I am a man of my word. Bai Wu clenched his fists. All right, step back and I will let him go, Yi Hao said when he saw that the disciples of the Thousand Beasts sect had all retreated. All right. Bai Wu immediately flew back with Elder Bai. Kid, you are too naive. As long as you let go of Bai Yi, I will kill you instantly. Bai Wu mocked in his heart. I will kill my way to the Bai Sheng holy dynasty and seek justice for the dead disciples of the Thousand Beast sect. Yi Hao's firm voice suddenly sounded from behind him, his tone filled with determination. Oh no, we have been tricked. Bai Wu immediately turned around. Bai Yi's neck had been cut off, and Yi Hao had activated the teleportation charm. Kid, I will destroy your entire sect. Bai Wu was furious after being tricked by Yi Hao. He instantly razed the Thousand Beasts sect to the ground. However, the disciples of the Thousand Beasts sect had already retreated. Master, nothing must happen to you. A few peak masters heard the commotion from the direction of the Thousand Beasts sect and prayed in their hearts. Quick, we must hurry to the primordial ruins. Yuan Guopeng was afraid that Bai Wu would chase after him, and he kept urging him. Senior brother, Yuan Guopeng is lucky. He will be fine. Xie Chunyu consoled Yuan Guopeng when she saw his worried face. Even if something happens to the master, I will avenge him. Yuan Guopeng nodded. He did not want Xie Chunyu to worry, but he swore in his heart. Sir, please open the primordial ruins. There are strong enemies behind. Yi Hao had already arranged for the devourer to wait outside the primordial ruins. Yuan Guopeng quickly said when he saw the devourer. Where's the master? The devourer looked behind and suddenly frowned as he asked worriedly. The master is holding the enemy back. I don't know how he is now, but I believe that the heavens will help the master. He will be fine. Yuan Guopeng comforted the devourer as well as himself. Your Highness, how can you leave? Elder Bai immediately threw himself in front of Bai Yi's corpse and cried loudly. Enough. Bai Wu was very unhappy that Yi Hao had run away. He looked at the crying Elder Bai and stopped him impatiently. Where is the ancient remnant? Bring me there quickly. I want that brat to take the bait personally, Bai Wu immediately asked. As long as he caught all the fish that escaped the net, he did not believe that Yi Hao would not come out. As for Yi Hao's last threat, he didn't even listen to it. He was just a piece of trash at the martial emperor realm. He couldn't even deal with him, let alone the Bai Sheng holy dynasty. Saint King, come with me. Elder Bai did not dare to be careless anymore. Now that his highness was dead, even though it had nothing to do with him, he knew that he would not be able to escape punishment. Now, only by killing Yi Hao can I atone for my sins. When the two of them arrived at the primordial ruins had already closed. Damn it! Seeing that the primordial ruins had closed, Bai Wu cursed angrily. However, there was nothing he could do. The primordial ruins was surrounded by a layer of fog, and he did not dare to touch it. Saint King, what should we do now? Elder Bai was now following Bai Wu's lead, hoping that he could clear his name. Wait, I believe that little bastard will come back. If there is no other way, we will wait for the primordial ruins to open and catch all those people. Bai Wu told Elder Bai Wu his decision. Now that Yi Hao had not been killed and his highness had been killed, Bai Wu was too ashamed to return to his country. Hence, he confronted Yi Hao. In the primordial ruins, the devouring beast purposely left a gap in the stone door so that it could see what was happening outside. Instead, the outside was blocked by the fog, and it was impossible to see what was going on inside. Why don't we work together and kill that bird? Zhang Fei looked at Bai Wu and Elder Bai Wu, suppressing his anger. Zhang Fei remembered that he had let Elder Bai escape from his hands and made him lose face in front of his master. Now that he was trapped in the primordial ruins and his highness's whereabouts were unknown, he could not calm down. Don't do anything rash. Without his highness's orders, we can't risk our lives. Wu Song played a key role in the crucial moment and immediately objected. But we can't just stay here. Zhang Fei looked at Wu Song and said, if you want to help his highness, then hurry up and cultivate. Only then can you help his highness. Wu Song comforted and encouraged everyone. That's right. We have to seize the opportunity to cultivate. And the martial arts power in the primordial ruins is almost on par with the top areas. Did you notice? Hey, you're right. We have to hurry up and cultivate. Actually, Bai Wu thought that he was smart. He did not know that Yi Hao's teleportation talisman was found on Bai Yi. The teleportation talisman on Bai Yi was different from the two talismans that Yi Hao received from the system. Yi Hao's two teleportation talismans sent him to a random place. On the other hand, Bai Yi's teleportation talisman was marked with the exact coordinates of the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty. If Bai Wu wanted to kill Yi Hao and teleported directly back to the country, he would definitely bump into Yi Hao. In the end, he thought that he was smart and went to the primordial ruins to guard it. Instead, he let Yi Hao go. Where's this? Yi Hao looked at the environment in front of him. It seemed to be a stone room. Rumble. Suddenly, the stone room's door opened and two martial honorable guards walked in. They pointed their weapons at Yi Hao. Who are you? Why are you in the palace of the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty? One of the guards looked at Yi Hao and questioned him loudly. I'm in the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty. Hearing the guard's words, Yi Hao was surprised. However, when he remembered that the teleportation talisman belonged to Bai Yi, he immediately understood. However, since he was in the Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty, he would not be able to live up to God's arrangement if he did not take revenge. However, Yi Hao was still shocked. The Bai Sheng Holy Dynasty was different. Even the two guards were martial honorables. If they were released, they would be experts who could dominate a region. Young man, I asked you a question. Are you mute? When the guard saw that Yi Hao was in a daze, he continued to question him loudly. I'm a friend of His Highness Bai Yi. This is the teleportation talisman that His Highness Bai Yi gave me a year ago. I am here to look for His Highness Bai Yi. In the palace, Yi Hao could not act for the time being, so he casually made up a lie. The two martial honorables looked at each other, and a strange look appeared in their eyes. Oh, so you're a friend of His Highness. Please wait here. I will go and get His Highness. One of the guards gave the other a look and suddenly said respectfully, Take good care of this young man. Before the guard left, he did not forget to remind Yi Hao. Yi Hao immediately knew that his lie had been exposed. Bai Wu had left the palace long ago. How could he still be in the palace? Chapter 300. Then there was only one possibility. The guard lied to him in order to calm him down. As for the guard, he definitely didn't go to find Bai Yi because Bai Yi had already been killed by him. So the guard must have gone to find someone. Look, I have a treasure here. Help me open my eyes and see what it is. Yi Hao took out a martial arts crystal and said to the guard, Martial arts crystal. How can this kid have such a treasure? The guard had only seen the martial arts crystal. At that time, his commander had completed a few important missions and obtained a few martial Dao crystals. However, he had made them envious. Looking at Yi Hao's country bumpkin appearance, it was obvious that he really didn't know about the martial arts crystal. A touch of greed immediately emerged in the guard's heart. What kind of broken stone is this? I don't think it's useful. Ah, so it's a broken stone. I even picked up a bunch. Yi Hao obviously saw the greed in the guard's eyes. On the contrary, the guard was really good at acting. Yi Hao also played along. What? A bunch. The guard's heart suddenly beat a few times. He looked at Yi Hao with a burning gaze. Yes, if you want it, I'll give it all to you. Yi Hao took out a few more pieces as he spoke. He would be an idiot if he didn't take advantage of it. If someone else came later, he wouldn't be able to get these things. Thinking of this, the guard immediately stretched out his hand and grabbed the martial arts crystal in Yi Hao's hand. Hey, someone's here. Yi Hao suddenly shouted. The guard was shocked and quickly turned back. He didn't forget to grab the martial arts crystal in Yi Hao's hand and stuffed it into his arms in a panic. No one. Crack. Yi Hao directly twisted the greedy guard's neck. What an idiot. Yi Hao took off the guard's clothes and immediately changed into them. At the same time, he used the 1,000 illusion mask to turn himself into the guard's appearance and threw the guard into the space. At this moment, a large number of footsteps came from outside. Yi Hao immediately ran out, shouting as he ran, Kid, stop. Kid, don't run. Lu Ji, stop right there. What's going on? The guard who went to report immediately stopped Yi Hao. That kid ran away when I wasn't paying attention, Yi Hao said anxiously. Trash. Where did you run off to? The commander cursed and immediately asked, "It's in that direction." Yi Hao pointed in a random direction. "Hurry up and chase after them. If you catch them, you'll be heavily rewarded." The commander shouted. The group of people immediately chased after them in the direction Yi Hao had pointed. The imperial palace was huge, and Yi Hao was unfamiliar with the place, so he could only follow the commander. "Kid, you're too careless. If we can't catch them, we'll all be punished." Wang Kai was the guard who was on duty with Lu Ji. He whispered to Yi Hao while running, "How would I know? That kid is too cunning." Yi Hao pretended to be depressed. "I knew you couldn't do it. If I had known, I would have just watched. You could have made a great contribution, but now the opportunity is gone." Wang Kai looked annoyed. Being on duty in the imperial palace meant that the chances of success were relatively small. He thought that he could make a great contribution, but it turned out to be a false hope. However, he didn't know that his partner on duty was dead. The person he wanted to catch, Yi Hao, was right next to him. He should be glad. If he was the one who stayed there, he would be the one dead now. Split up and look for him. I don't believe that he can escape in the imperial palace. After chasing for a long time, the commander shouted to the guards. Flying was strictly prohibited in the imperial palace. Anyone who dared to fly in the air would be killed by the experts. Therefore, the commander believed that as long as he was given time, he would definitely be able to catch Yi Hao. However, he didn't know that Yi Hao was in his team. "Don't follow me. I want to find him myself." Wang Kai was still brooding over the fact that he had let Yi Hao go. He looked at Yi Hao beside him and spoke with resentment. Okay, Yi Hao couldn't ask for more. He had to think of a way to get out of the imperial palace. With his current strength, he couldn't deal with the imperial palace. There were martial gods and martial sages in the imperial palace. At this moment, staying in the imperial palace was undoubtedly a tiger's den. Moreover, he needed to get out. He urgently needed experience points, soul points, and resurrection points. He wanted to avenge the disciples of the Wan Shou sect who died tragically. Moreover, he was pressed for time. The competition between the Beast Monster sect and the Human Medicine sect would begin in 3 to 4 months. He hadn't completed the mission given by the system yet. At present, he had only found Morong Bao and Panjie. Moreover, he didn't have any clue about the disciple who refined the pills. Moreover, he couldn't get any experience points, soul points, or resurrection points in the Imperial Palace. There was no way to find the disciple. "You, I'm talking to you. Why are you standing here in a daze?" Yi Hao suddenly felt a pat on his shoulder. Yi Hao reacted instinctively and immediately grabbed the wrist on his shoulder. What are you doing?" Sorry, instinctive." Yi Hao looked at the palace made in front of him and said apologetically, "Why are you sneaking around here?" The palace maid pinched her painful wrist and looked at Yi Hao angrily. "Catching someone," Yi Hao said casually. The palace maid looked at Yi Hao suspiciously. "Catching someone? I don't think you're a good person. Speak. Are you sent by Yi?" Yi Hao looked at the palace maid in surprise. What was going on? A small palace maid dared to call the prince's name directly. Moreover, her attitude wasn't very friendly. This palace maid was too bold. "How dare you call the prince's name directly?" Yi Hao shouted angrily. "Little Qing, who are you quarreling with?" A gentle and elegant voice came from the courtyard. She was wearing an elegant long dress as she walked out. "Brother, Xiao Qing has been spoiled by me. She's not very sensible. Please forgive her." Guishuefu bowed to Yi Hao and said softly. Her voice was very sweet. "Miss, he's just a stinky guard." "You." Xiao Qing's face was a little unhappy. "Xiao Qing." Guishuefu's tone was slightly heavier, and she glared at Xiao Qing. Xiao Qing pouted and played with the corner of her clothes. However, she also understood that Miss had never put on airs. She couldn't say anything more. "I won't argue with a small palace maid." Yi Hao followed the principle of less trouble and left immediately. "You." "Miss, look at him." After being called a little girl by Yi Hao, Xiao Qing felt as if her tail was stepped on. She immediately pointed at Yi Hao's back and looked at Guishuefu resentfully. What a strange guard. Guishuefu looked at Yi Hao's back. His words and actions were not something a guard should have. Guoshuefu could be said to be one of the beauties of the Bishing dynasty. However, she was just an abandoned child of her family. She was offered to the palace and was going to marry Bai Yi. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.